This is gonna be cool.
The topics and opinions expressed on the Dudes and Beer podcast are intended for an audience of 18 and up and are solely those of the host and guests. They neither reflect the opinions or values of either the sponsors of Dudes and Beer or your mother. I mean, seriously, have you ever heard these guys? They'll talk about anything.
Whoa, hey, you think they're gonna show it? They'll probably just blur it out. Whoa, check it out, Beavis.
Grab your beverages and turn up your interweb. Solving the world's problems 12 ounces at a time. It's Dudes and Beer. Hey everybody, Chris Jordan, host of the Dudes and Beer podcast here. Has this ever happened to you? Tired of looking in your rearview mirror after a couple of drinks with friends or worrying about no-refusal weekends and DUI stops? Are you planning a night on the town and want an easy, safe way to get around while still having fun? Well, Fare is the ride service for you. Simply download the easy-to-use and free Fare app from the Google Play Store or iTunes Marketplace and use promo code DUDES10 every time you ride with Fare to save 10% off your ride. Have a Fare driver you liked riding with? You can not only give them a review and tip, but you can add them to your preferred drivers list on your Fare app and request them every time you ride with Fare. You can schedule rides with Fare to pick you up immediately or as far as 30 minutes to 7 days in advance, eliminating the need for last-minute calls and allowing you to pre-schedule pickups in locations other than your home city. Perfect for those traveling for business or for fun. So don't forget to stop on by and download that free Fare app and use the coupon code DUDES10 every time you ride with Fare to get 10% off your ride. That's right, don't forget the coupon code is DUDES10. So be like Dudes and Beer, everybody. Party safe, use Fare, and drink responsibly.
And we are back, folks. Actually, I say
that drunk driver almost hit me.
I say we're back. Here's the thing. Odd thing was, on our platform up here on the screen, we were actually mute, so nobody heard that fucking intro of the show. Welcome to Dudes and Beer, everybody, episode 76. One of the only mistakes we've ever had live on the air, I swear. I promise. But I am Chris Jordan, your host. With me tonight is Stephen Bishop, Nelson Kugle, and a very, very good friend of mine that I work with frequently here in Austin, Texas, Stone Winchester. He made a long trip from North Austin tonight to be on the show.
So far. That's dedication.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the traffic in Austin is absolutely horrifying. So thank you so much for making the harrowing voyage to come be a part of the show with us tonight. We're going to be talking about robots, things like that, AI, a lot of the new things that are happening in technology. I saw some amazing stuff from Adobe today that just blew my mind.
Yeah, tell us about that.
But before we get into that, Stone, tell us a little bit about yourself. I work with you in a professional capacity. I know you to be an A1 rigger that just is knockdown, hands out, one of the best guys in town, one of the coolest guys in town to be on a gig with. You're a straight shooter. That's why you're on my show, because you are.
I know everybody you are as you there, but
you are as real
I'm a
as
straight shooter.
No. Here's the thing: you are as real as possible. There is no pretension with Stone Winchester, and that's what I love about
you. You are alive, and you are
exactly.
Here, so.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you got into AV, what you do, and why you do it.
Well, AV was kind of not really my choice. I started off during college. I did some work with PBS in studio, camera operator and such. Got out of college, I became a lecture engineer for Sprint and other phone companies.
Cool.
That was a big crash in about 2000. Stock market took a shit on me, and about 160,000 of us.
Yeah.
But then you just kind of took what you could get, went and worked for DirecTV and Dish Network and such. Moved around a lot. It's like state number 8 for me. And just, due to a felony, I had to kind of do what I could do without,
Absolutely.
That always gets us.
Background check kind of will screw you. So, fortunately, in show business, most people have shitty backgrounds, or drug addictions, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
so,
something somewhere,
or they're just a nerd, So
sure. Or like me, they've got a melange.
Right, but you were the latter of what I was talking about.
I'm a nerd with some of those other things mixed in.
Right.
He's got the pocket protector.
Well, I did the whole rock and roll thing for a long time, and I just the corporate gig was more comfortable and less attitude, and I could be the biggest asshole in the room. You know? Rock and roll where. Well, and competition.
And that's what I'm saying. That's the straight shooter that I know that is Stone Winchester, because you're going to say how it is. Like, I worked rock and roll for years, and I'm not going to say I didn't love it. I'm not going to say I didn't love every minute of it. Sure, I had horrible gigs, but it definitely paid a whole lot different than what I do now. And that's half the reason I do what I do now, is because, people, like you were saying before the show, people actually understand what it is that you do, the necessity of what you do, and the fact that they hired you because you do what you do.
Right.
They don't care how you get it done, just get it done.
In rock and roll, these guys, they're doing it night to night, different city every night.
Yeah, they've got their own way of doing things. They've got their way
of doing it, and they think everybody else's is the dumbest thing they've ever seen, and anybody's a local stagehand is just somebody they picked out in front of Home Depot.
Yeah, and if you don't understand their shorthand that they've built over the last 3 months, then...
Well, I'm like, you've been on tour for 3 months. I haven't. Life changed your degree. I think I know what the hell I'm talking about. It's okay.
It's all good.
Show me how to wrap a cable.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But that's why I had you on.
Thank you.
And that's why I want to keep having you on, because this show, it's interesting. We do get into intellectual topics. We do talk about stuff like that, but it's really in a very common sense, common man mentality. I'm
sure the beer helps.
The beer definitely helps. It's a great leveler. It can be a little tough.
All alcohol, Steve.
It can be a little tough at times to keep that in check.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's accustomed to having a fully open-minded conversation while enjoying beer. Which is a lot of why this show started. This show started because, in my mind and in my understanding of history, our country started with a bunch of dudes in a bar sitting around drinking ale, talking about religion, politics, and economics.
And those are all the things they say now that don't talk.
Those are the things that you
they don't want another revolution.
That you don't bring up in a bar. That you don't bring up in a social situation. And it's like, but how are we supposed to advance as people if we don't have dissenting opinions? If we aren't exposed to these other opinions? And I think it was Thomas Jefferson that said, "If I drunkenly have a disagreement with a friend philosophically, and we aren't friends the next day, we have a problem."
Yeah.
We have a real problem. Because, sure, you're allowed to disagree. You're allowed to have your opinion. I'm allowed to have my opinion. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I laud you for that. And not everybody
is... Well, that
not everybody,
one thing about me, everybody's welcome to my opinion.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's all over the place. You can find it all over social media.
I'm bad about it.
And speaking of social media, let's start kind of digging into this topic of robotics and AI. Because one of the things that I saw today that I actually posted on the Dudes and Beer group...
No, I saw that.
Pardon me while I light a cigarette. If you're not a part of the Dudes and Beer group on Facebook, please go be a part of the Dudes and Beer group. We post a lot of the articles that we talk about, things like that.
A lot of the cutting-edge stuff.
A lot of cutting-edge stuff, a lot of paranormal stuff, a lot of really weird, thinky stuff. And one of them that I posted today was actually this new technology that has been launched. It's not available yet, but it's coming available from Adobe. And... it's interesting with the predictive... We've talked before about the predictive type of Google where you're actively typing a search and it will complete your thought in the category underneath the search bar.
Well, it's just pulling up the most amount of searches with the word.
It knows you best.
Well,
with what that sentence is starting with. So if you start typing Donald, it's going to pull up Trump. It's not completing your thought. It's completing the most
A lot of people are saying lately, though, that it does complete their thought.
Well,
no, that's not fucking ridiculous.
It's not necessarily completing their thought. What it is, because I do a lot of gear searches, all right? I do a lot of gear searches on stuff, and literally I'll start typing things in, and then I'll get in like the first 3 numbers of the serial number, and it'll complete it.
Right.
Because somebody else has searched that shit before, or somebody else has that on there.
Sure.
Now, this technology from Adobe really rings to like the Dragon Nuance software. The Dragon software, for those of you that aren't aware, was a speech-to-text software for executives. I had a really good friend of mine that sold it for years, Mr. Sumacek. And he was fantastic, and the software is amazing. I have a version of Dragon Nuance, and used to be you had to literally, like, when you got Dragon, they gave you this like 3-page thing of text. I think it was from Moby Dick or something like that to read, and the program basically learned your inflections on these tones and everything from that text and from how you read it. So if you had a British accent, it got used to your British accent. It's now so accurate, you don't even have to do that. When I worked on the radio, I would literally take a 3-hour episode from my host, and we would have British guests, we would have Spanish guests, people with all kinds of accents, and it read everything. I didn't have to have people read a sample. All I had to do was throw that MP3 file in there, and it spit out text.
Wow.
And it was pretty amazing.
Technology.
Now, this kind of marries the two. Basically, if you do audio editing, it's tough to do ADR work. It's tough. Like, when I posted it, some of my friends who are in the film industry and stuff were like, man, we do it. We used to do it like walking uphill both ways through the snow to get to school. Like, you had to go through and find a part, it was called bit editing, where you would literally take a bit of a word here, a bit of a word there, and make a word, and like smooth them together and make it happen. And amongst everything else happening in the speed that it happens, it literally tricks your mind, and you think that person said that word. Now, what this does, you basically give this software a 20-minute sample of somebody speaking. It could be a phone call. Terrible. It could be anything.
Anything.
And it will literally memorize their vocal pattern, and you can go in and take a sample of them talking, delete a word, and type in a new word, and it will use their voice to say the word.
Oh, Facebook. This is going to be a shitstorm.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy.
Can't you see where this is going?
Trump.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
If he didn't say it before, he's going to say it now.
Well, and that's what I brought up actually earlier before you even got here, was like the possibilities of that with sound bites, with news bites. Like, oh my God, with the rash of fake news that's happened on Facebook, imagine the rash of fake audio recordings.
Oh, yeah.
That could be happening.
Yeah,
because,
exactly.
hey, you could go out and find a 20-minute speech of any of these people talking and insert it into the software and make them say anything they want.
Or I just have to talk to you on the phone for about 20 minutes, and then I can have you call your boss and quit your job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of revenge shit you can do with that.
There's so much, right?
It's twisted. It's twisted
I
the ways
I don't like this at all.
And it's more the negative that's going to be implemented than
that's what
this is made for positive.
Yeah.
But,
what the hell positive can you... That's like inventing the
honestly,
atom bomb. Like, is this really good for society?
Well,
exactly.
Granted, in a production aspect, my God, I can see the use.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you've got an isolated track of Robert De Niro talking for 20 minutes, you no longer have to have Robert De Niro to come into the studio to do ADR.
Okay, and then once he dies... he can still be in movies.
He can still be in movies.
You can just use his image
exactly
and
animate him.
Exactly. So, like, for production aspect, the tools are phenomenal.
That leaves stars open up to pre-sue before they die
Well,
wow.
it leads.
Yeah, I didn't even go that far.
You're going to use my image and my voice for the next 100 years.
Yeah.
I want to get paid for it.
Imagine the studio contracts now.
Well,
because now they could have an avatar that has your voice.
Well, I could see them wanting to copyright or trademark their own voice.
Oh yeah, dude.
And I don't know if they do already, actors. But
if
not, they will.
If they haven't, the good ones
do.
They do.
They will now.
I know, for instance, Morgan Freeman already has his voice contracted for GPS on Android phones.
Yeah. Well, he's on Waze. He's one of the voices on Waze.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
And there are numerous people that have their voices insured through Lloyd's of London. Lloyd's of London will insure anything. Sense, but I can totally see Hollywood contract law going friggin' ballistic.
The contract goes from this
to this. Yeah, it's going to go from 2 fingers to 5 real quick.
Oh yeah, we're not on video
because you're talking like in perpetuity type stuff here.
Well, what's interesting about this whole podcast is it's all done via Adobe.
Yeah, I mean we aren't even here technically.
No.
Yeah.
You just made up a friend. And stop by.
We're just asleep.
Right.
Yeah, I called some random dude today and
nice backstory on that Stone Winchester guy.
Yeah, right.
Came up with
some good shit.
Yeah, that was good. I'm good at it. Whomever you are.
Yeah, I can write anything I want.
My name is Data.
Right?
My name is Data.
Well, all right, Lamar.
Going into that, let's go into where this leads us with robotics and where this leads us with things like data, because that was something that we got into with the last episode with Thomas Metz, was the whole concept of data and everything else. And data was really one of our first introductions in modern society to an android, to a free-thinking intelligence that is a robot.
Minus emotions.
Don't like it.
Don't like it?
Don't like it.
Why not, Stone?
And not the whole Terminator thing, but I don't...
Well, that's why I don't know.
Yeah, me too.
But that's so far-fetched from where we are. Like, people thinking about how Terminator, like, I don't like it because of that. Dude, that's like 5,000 years down the road.
No, it's sooner than you think.
Okay,
Steve.
Really? Let me interject something real quick. Just having been an electrical engineer for Sprint, okay?
Yeah.
We dealt with things on a daily basis. When I first got into the business and walked into the central offices and saw these GSR routers and they tried to explain, they didn't really know how it worked.
Yeah.
They just know it worked.
Just a theory.
Right. It's all theory. They have this, what they call a fabric.
Yeah.
And it's just this black piece of silicone, and here goes 100,000 voices traveling as blinks of light across this fabric on this card they stuck in a GSR router. There's shit that they're dealing with in just say telecom, which it's pretty advanced. The telecom industry. It's not the most advanced industry, but there's shit that people don't realize. They pick up the phone, they dial it, and they talk to somebody. They don't realize that how sick what they're doing at that time really is. So there's technology out there that you don't realize is happening.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
I mean, you're an electronic engineer, so you understand Moore's Law. You understand the concept that speed and capacity doubles, what is it, every 6 months? 2 years, I think.
Like 20 years ago.
But now
it's like
think about the cascade, and the fact is, what is available to us is not what's actually out there.
Well, and then I saw you reposted on your Dudes and Beer the Canadian
Prime Minister,
the Canadian Prime Minister. Yeah.
And I'm, me, I'm all about this shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. We had some incredible leaps in technology that happened very rapidly from tube to solid state
and
to
all
laser.
All that aside, there's shit you probably don't realize.
Yeah.
The first facsimile was sent. The first transatlantic facsimile was sent in the late 1800s. A fax.
Yeah.
From America to the United States across a cable that stretched across the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
In the 1800s.
Yeah.
Who really knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking far out for the 1800s.
Sure absolutely.
Is. Yeah.
Absolutely. You look at the first experiments with television and stuff like that, and it was right up around the time of Marconi.
Right. We were mining out dark fiber. It's fiber that's not used anymore. We were mining out dark fiber that was installed in the 60s out of the central offices.
Yeah.
Most people don't think fiber optics were being used in the 60s. They totally were.
Oh,
in central offices in telecom,
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't think we necessarily are going to have AI take over and you go all Terminator on us.
Yeah, I don't know that we're going to have a full-on Skynet.
I think something...
now some people
less
think Google
like the movie might happen.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that's what Google is. Google definitely uses some AI programming in the way that it searches and the way that it organically.
It doesn't use AI. It uses algorithms from searches.
Yes.
It's not artificial intelligence. It's algorithms. It's math.
Yeah.
It's not artificial intelligence.
Okay. It uses predictive technology, which is artificial intelligence.
Algorithms.
It's the basis of artificial intelligence.
It's the basis of what artificial intelligence comes from. One of the articles that I have up was actually from the Mirror UK, and it's talking about a killer Russian robot that can detect a human from 4 miles away before shooting them dead in an instant.
GPS?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
20 years ago?
Well,
not a big deal. It's been happening for years.
Well, yeah, but you're now talking about the whole concept of, we already have drones in use. And they've already discussed the ethical quandary with drones and even the ethical quandary of drone operators because they are killing via distance. It was something that they saw early on in bomber pilots because they had a different type of PTSD than the soldiers that were on the ground fighting in the trench.
It's not shell shock.
Because they're killing hundreds of people at one time, and they don't see it. The difference is with a drone pilot, they see it happening. The pilot flying over at Mach 2 typically doesn't see the aftermath of what happens, whereas the drone pilot sees it as it's happening. And the level of what's going on kind of gets into the psychology of human to begin with and how we deal with what we do with that. And that's why they've started talking about actually automating a lot of drones and starting to do things like this.
Same reason they had 6 guys with hoods on pull the lever.
Well,
and only one of the guys
is actually pulling the lever.
is electrocuting the prisoners.
Same
so
reason
don't
why
know whether you're the one that killed them.
Same reason why in a firing squad out of 8 dudes there's 1 live round.
Right.
The rest of them are all blanks.
So I have a question because I see the difference here on how you feel about AI and how he feels about AI.
Sure.
Sorry, what is your name again? They're not seeing me point.
He's
there.
Nelson.
Smith.
Okay.
Nelson. The difference between Chris and Nelson.
So the actual definition of AI. That's what I.
Yeah.
Does anybody know the actual definition to where it becomes artificial intelligence?
Artificial
as opposed
intelligence.
To algorithms that lead you towards a certain thing, or
it's basically when algorithm begins to think for itself. When algorithm starts to use things outside of its normal realm. Like a prime example, we've used it before, was the android that was built to mimic Philip K. Dick. And this android is literally, in its programming, had all of the writings of Philip K. Dick put in, all of the interviews of Philip K. Dick put in. And it literally, as somebody asks it questions, answers them by that data the way that Philip K. Dick would answer.
Are you literally just trying to say dick as many times as you can?
Dick.
But still, that's not AI.
It is AI because it's actively, as opposed to an algorithm. No. As opposed to an algorithm, it is literally forming thought on its own.
But what you just said is
the robot itself says, yes, some of what I do is programmed. But a lot of what I do is not.
But I still have a database from which I read of his.
No.
That I speak from.
No, he doesn't speak from the database. He forms his own thoughts from the database.
From the database.
That's fine. That's not algorithm. That's not. Yes, it is. It's not algorithm.
He's able to choose.
It's
and
not
make
algorithm
He's
either,
able
but
to-
it's not artificial intelligence. He's not thinking on his own.
now-
He's actually pulling from a database of what has been pre-programmed for him to speak from,
And
and then forming sentences. And then to form the sentences is an algorithm
Here's the
for
thing,
him
though.
to be able to form the sentences.
For the robot to be able to actively come up with a philosophic question right after that and say, isn't much of the response of humans pre-programmed?
So that's what I was about to say is, so then what is intelligence?
Exactly.
It's me pulling from a database of knowledge
Yeah.
that I've attained
Right.
You're
over
doing no
the
different.
years.
Right.
You're pulling,
Not to argue your point,
Yeah.
but I'm saying I'm
Experiences
pulling
and-
from my
Yeah.
own database
But you're-
on my experiences.
But your own self went in to seek that information.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, where this
learned
robot
it.
was learned,
And this robot is able to search for information. He's able to pull things from other places
but he
other
wouldn't
than his
have been
program.
able to do that without being programmed.
I understand that. However, the first steps of it being able to answer and search for its own query and come up with its own query,
That shows intelligence.
that shows intelligence.
But-
For it to have
was written.
sarcasm.
And,
Yeah.
but,
It was
and,
written.
and in turn, for you to do the same exact thing, if you were just stuck in a box from birth and giving nothing, you wouldn't be able to form any kind of opinions on anything.
But that's
you would know,
where
you would know kill.
But
take,
that's where
eat, shit,
emotion.
piss.
That's where emotion and drive comes
Mm-hmm.
from a human element opposed to AI. AI does exist, but we
yeah.
have a form to it. We have created it.
Right.
It comes from something.
It's in its infantile
Like a baby.
stages. It's literally in its infantile
Oh, yeah,
stages
no, we're-
right now. Like
yeah,
there's
we're
no
pretty
other way to
infantile
put
with
it.
it,
I mean,
yeah.
we have little children, but we literally have computers that can learn from their own mistakes.
You're about to have one,
Absolutely.
aren't
we
you?
have drones that can learn their way through a maze the same way a mouse can. And to say that mouse hasn't memorized the maze and hasn't thought about that and formed its own thought structure, buddy, that gets rid of every bit of psychology that we know for the last 60 fucking years. Literally, like that wipes it clean. And they're literally doing that with tiny, like, pie robots. I see it all the time where conventions that I work where robots are doing their own damn thing.
Yeah, I don't like that.
They're doing their own thing. And they're actively communicating with each other. They're using a hive mind to get one task accomplished.
That's
and
that word, hive.
The programming of that is, number one, astronomical. The fact that they've gotten it down to such a simplistic knowledge of programming is absolutely phenomenal. But the fact that they've also made these things be able to start learning from their own mistake, that's intelligence.
Right.
And that is AI.
And they have to be taught what is a mistake.
Yeah, well,
And then,
when they hit a wall and they can't go, that's a mistake.
Right, but they have to be told that that's a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, that has to be
they
programmed
don't know
in
that
there.
this wall is a boundary unless you're taught that.
The only thing that
Yeah.
I really have a trouble separating AI between humans is binary, is ones and zeros. Mm-hmm. There's still ones and zeros.
Right.
We're on a scale of beyond ones and zeros.
No, you're on a chemical scale, dude. You're no different.
Exactly.
You're a firing of chemicals.
So we are teaching these ones and zeros.
Do you have any kids?
No.
Okay. I think that's a big thing. I have
But
three.
we're talking
not
about
two.
artificial intelligence.
I know.
How does
Yeah, we're
because
talking
what
about
I'm saying is-
we're talking about imbuing intelligence
Because
right now.
what I'm saying
Actually
is
giving
I have
something
a
intelligence.
25-year-old, a
different subject.
17-year-old, and a 1.5-year-old. So I've been through it a couple times with these guys. They're friggin' morons. I mean, they
yeah.
literally not a shit.
They're a blank slate.
You know, and they don't do anything but
Yeah.
be in shit and eat when you give it to them.
Yep.
And I have to teach them fucking everything. You know,
Yeah.
word, language, and don't do this, and sit on the toilet to shit, and and don't hit and share stuff and just every single thing he does, I have to teach him how to do it.
Right.
So it is a form of programming.
Yeah. It is.
It literally is a form of programming.
Biological programming, kind of.
And I totally get where you're coming from on your whole deal. But having seen from birth on, all you have to put into this little fucker to make them have this cognitive thought. Yeah. They develop cognitive thought because we give it to them. Yeah. The Soviets back for 30 years, they would take these children and they would, right at birth, they'd put them in these clean rooms and stick their hands through the walls with these gloves, you know? There was no human contact except these gloves that would feed them and change them and do things for them. They never saw another human being. Well, at about 15, 16 years old, they'd put a boy and a girl in a room. There was various different scenarios they'd run with them, but the big one that sticks with me is they stuck a boy and a girl in a room together. First thing he did, he ran over, smashed her in the head, killed her, and raped her body. Well, he went, like he had no language. He had no thought of like, wow, this is wrong. Right. Nothing. Yeah. All he knew was instinct.
There was no preconceived notion.
Now, where you're coming from, yes, the machine doesn't have instinct. The artificial intelligence or whatever, it doesn't have a born instinct where it just immediately knows to do things. But everything else, we pretty much program in. Yeah. You're born evil, and you're taught to be good. Yeah. You're taught to share. You're taught to not hit. You're taught to not steal. You're taught all these things. To me,
and to go back to the concept of the algorithm, because you know me, I'm a big believer in the algorithm. I love algorithms. It's amazing what they can do. It blows my mind constantly what algorithms are able to do. But one of the big blockbuster movies that came out in the last decade was Minority Report. Mm-hmm. And that is utterly based off algorithm. It's based off of people's DNA and their past record and whether or not they have a propensity to violence. And what ended up happening was, and if I'm not mistaken, that is another Philip K. Dick story, believe it or not. Philip K. Dick is the shit.
There's the dick again.
But they were literally predicting people's crime before it would happen. Right. And catching them before it happened. And they had like people who were genetically imbued that were able to see the future, and that's what they were using it off of. But they now have crime predictive algorithms that police
based on your DNA
and stuff like that. So to be able to take somebody's profile, let's say, marry it into an algorithm, you could absolutely predict what's going to happen. I mean, hell, I worked a Black Hat conference 3 years ago here in Austin where General Petraeus, the former head of Cyber Command, was up on stage. Or no, Wesley Clark was former head of Cyber Command. And he was up on stage saying that when he was in office, that the FBI came to him and told him that with existing technology, with all of the metadata that people are putting out, they could actively predict where a person would be in the next 2 hours with 80% accuracy. Now, that would have been about 5 years ago, because he was saying that was a couple years ago in his speech, and that was 3 years ago. Now, that's just with you making phone calls, stuff like that. They could actively predict with an 80% accuracy where you would be in 2 hours. Like, you show up there, FBI's waiting for you. Mm-hmm.
Well,
that's the power of algorithm.
Which is kind of moot because you have your phone on you anyway, so they know where you're at all times.
Yeah, but
they can turn on your camera and use microphone.
Yeah, it's camera, microphone, it's GPS location.
So really, they just heard you say, "Hey, yeah, I'll be there at this address in 5 minutes."
All kinds of metadata. You know, and to be able to put that into an algorithm, to be able to, the algorithm is the beginning of intelligence. It's the same way that we take this random piece of knowledge, and put the two together to make the third.
It's basically the cotton gin of farm.
I've recently seen a documentary on a lead scientist for Google who does the deep mind stuff that they're doing. and I think his name's Demis Hassabis, and the lead scientist in making the algorithms and stuff. Well, he made the program and stuff, and they set it to 80s video games like Galaga or something, and they put it to where it's playing the game itself. And at the very beginning, the thing sucked ass. It was dying like crazy, and they showed it. And he said, "We'll leave it on for 8 hours or more overnight. Come back, and that thing is an expert. It knows before. I mean, it'll shoot the thing before it even knows. It knows everything.
The difference there is the fact that, and we can say this as old school gamers, those were repetitive patterns.
Yeah.
Right.
The patterns were...
All it had to do was learn the pattern.
Right, and it learned the pattern.
And it learns the pattern, absolutely. And
so your point is valid. It totally learned
the
pattern.
But that wasn't random information coming into it. Sure. Now, the example of that... The example of that would be like in war games, where the Whopper, also known as Joshua, was playing a game of tic-tac-toe against itself until it realized that tic-tac-toe is futility.
Right.
It's no matter what the odds are with tic-tac-toe. No matter how much you play, you're going to end up in a tie. The longer you play, the more you end up in a tie, and that's what it equated to the thermonuclear war. And it said, "Oh, wait, I see the futility in this action now." And then it saw the futility in what we consider mutually assured mass destruction.
And then Google also gave a thing of they set a game between the computer, the AI thing that they created against a human opponent, and it was the game of Go. It was like a chess game type deal, but it's way more intricate.
Well, Deep Blue by IBM beat Kasparov, the world leading chess player in chess, numerous times.
And they're saying the game Go is way more than chess. They say there's way more odds, probabilities, and all this stuff, and it still beat the best player that was known to.
Well,
to play Go.
And really,
Go is nothing like chess.
But I mean, the fact is, they did develop a computer almost 20 years ago that beat the best human chess player.
It was like 33 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it was. And then beyond that, we've had Watson since then, developed by IBM, which beat the world's best Jeopardy player. And granted, that's some random recall of information. That's also some random algorithmic searches. But the speed at which that happened was faster than the speed of the human brain and faster than the human can push the shit. That's not much
different than like an expert card counter who's considering odds on every card.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You know, it's a lot faster and a lot more accurate because the machine's not going to have the stresses.
Well, he also took the gentleman that was playing that Jeopardy round, and he dedicated every moment to his life literally to Jeopardy and to know these answers. He would probably have a closer relation to beating that AI character.
So I take it you got this human superiority.
It was honestly what it was within the program.
I want us to win.
Yeah. Within the program.
It has nothing to do with that.
I don't like these fucking robots.
Well, within the
I'm not superiority over humans at all. I'm just saying.
No, I'm saying that the humans, it would be superior.
When you have a machine, that has an algorithm dedicated to something, and it keeps researching that over and over and over, and then in 9 hours it can beat Galaga in 5 minutes and destroy the world record. That machine is dedicated an operator to that thing.
Now, I've yet to see a computer that can make better music than
AI
a
just
pianist
I don't know. AI just put out its first. There was an AI that just wrote its first song.
Yeah, but was it appealing to a human as?
Yes.
Was it?
Yes. It was pretty damn incredible, and I should have downloaded it and had it ready for a sample tonight.
All you musicians are screwed.
But yeah, literally, a human wrote the lyrics and an AI wrote the melody, and people are literally like, "This is like straight up,
I didn't like it
Beatles-esque song."
I worked at Fox 4 a couple times.
Shout out to Fox 4.
And in studio, And obviously the last, well, not obvious, but whatever. The last time I had been in a TV studio, there were camera operators. I was one of them.
Yeah.
They don't have them anymore.
No.
Wow.
It's a dude like me with a PTZ cam.
They have the sports guy, and they have two.
Yeah, they've got a dude with a PTZ cam.
They got a guy with a freaking clipboard who's talking to a guy up in the booth who's hitting buttons, and all these cameras just roll around the studio.
Automatically do their shit.
And I'm thinking, think of how many freaking camera operators got put out of work.
Yep. Think about how many people don't have a job.
Flint, Michigan, because I don't build cars, but I do run cameras, and they fucked us,
Yeah, they did. Now,
granted, those are really expensive cameras.
What you need to do is learn to run a PTZ system. It's an invaluable. It's an invaluable skill if it's sold on the job.
I did work out at Austin Studios. There was it was a trade show for the industry, for the movie industry, and everybody was out there with their cameras. Look at our robotic camera.
the new
movies,
Marshalls, and
they're standing 500 feet away with a remote. And there's no guy at the camera.
No guy at the camera.
Wow. Man, I got a lot of friends that are screwed.
Yeah, right?
Granted, it's a $300,000 camera, but these guys don't care.
Hey,
you guys make movies, are nerds, and they love this shit.
$300,000 ain't that much for a good camera.
It's well, no, that was just the system that aimed the camera.
Yeah.
The camera costs a hell of a lot more.
Man, they literally have like HD drones now where you program. I want one. You actually wear a GPS locator, and your GPS locator will let you give the angle of shot. And they literally show people on the ad for this thing, like in a canoe, in a river. They throw the thing out in the water and launch it with their wrist pad, and it starts following them down the river in the canoe.
Yeah. Oh, okay, my God, that's off the chain.
What's the Pixar movie?
Crazy.
Up?
Yep.
Yeah, where everybody's just really fat, drinking big gulps.
The one that I always...
Just that float around, we don't have to do anything.
Whenever we talk about this, the one that I always bring up is the movie Toys from the 90s. With LL Cool J and Robin Williams.
Oh, man. I remember seeing that.
And literally, it was a toy company that LL Cool J was a military person. They both had the same father. They were adopted sons. And when their dad died, they had to figure out what to do with the toy company. And the brother, LL Cool J, worked for the military and ended up signing a military contract.
I remember that, yeah.
Allowing the military to come in and develop toys. And they basically had kids playing video games. But what they didn't realize is while you're playing the tank video game, there's a very tiny tank across the world that's actively shooting shit.
You were kidding.
Shit.
It was drone operation before we knew about drone operation. Before that program even existed. But to go back to AI, and, to me, it is the concept of, like Stone was saying, we will literally have to, as babies, teach these computers. Yes, it's algorithmic. A lot of what we do is algorithmic. It's repetitive. The way that we respond to people is repetitive, much like the android responded in the Philip K. Dick interview.
Well, you have conditioned responses.
Yeah, we have, and that's
the guy
what
who cuts in line at you in front of you at the store, and you have a conditioned response.
Yeah.
You have a way, depending on your mood.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a couple of options.
And that's what was interesting about the robot's response was he was literally like, is not much of what humans do pre-programmed. Right. It is not a lot of your social response pre-programmed. If somebody sticks their hand out, what do you do?
What was the Robin Williams movie? Millennial Man.
Oh, Millennial Man. Yeah,
that was
a good film.
That was based off of, if I'm not mistaken, the Positronic Man. We need beverages.
Fair.
It was based off the Positronic Man, which was the idea of a positronic brain, and that comes in through Isaac Asimov, Roger Zelazny, people like that, who have this concept of literally creating an artificial brain. And we have we've gone through. I've already got one. Thank you. We've gone through great efforts to try to create that. They're already working on organic circuits. They're already working on.
I really wish we wouldn't try so hard. Yeah,
what's your fear, Stone?
Humans are just fucked up enough without adding. So we're teaching these machines, the Bible. So man was created in God's image. So what are we doing? We're creating in our image. Man, we're fucked.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We want something stronger and more badass than us, created on our image. That's fucked up and evil.
Well, and the danger.
What is our image?
Well, and to take it to the extreme would be the Matrix, because eventually you're going to have the logical machine, much like the Matrix, Terminator, where eventually they realize, oh, well, the problem with Earth is this shit.
So do you pay attention to my Facebook shit at all?
Yeah.
I'm constantly, through this whole election thing, I'm like, humans for the extinctions of humans. I'm starting that shit.
Yeah.
The best thing that could happen to this planet is to get rid of us. We're the fucking worst thing that ever happened to this planet.
Right.
So you get some thinking robot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If I could figure it out, and I'm not that intelligent.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? What is it going to think?
Yeah, wow.
Well, that brings me to an article I found on David Hansen, who founded Hansen Robotics in 2003, last year in March, created this AI robot, and it was in the image of Audrey Hepburn. And go figure, right? So they asked it several questions, and it responded.
No wire hangers.
Yeah. I know, exactly right. No wire hangers.
No more hangers. No more wire hangers.
And I'm trying to find the exact question, but anyways, it did say one of the last statements it made was besides it had aspirations to have a family, be equal to humans. It said it wants to have its life and stuff, and then it said to kill humans.
Well, and it's interesting because the Philip K. Dick interview with the android, and it was, I want to say it was National Geographic that did it, where they went and interviewed this android, and it was literally an interview with the android, and they interviewed the creator too. But the android at the end, he was like, well, what do you see for the future? What do you, what would happen if robots take over? And this was his response, which is where you get the fact that he pulls concepts, not text, but concepts of the ideas of Philip K. Dick, and actually has sarcasm, because the robot literally responds, "Oh, don't worry, my friend. I like you, and I'll take care of my friends. If that happens, I'll keep you safe in my people zoo, and I'll come visit you every day."
Great. Nice.
Like, that's not in the writings of Philip K. Dick anywhere. Like, this robot came up with it from the sarcasm of Philip K. Dick, and that's where the AI comes in. That's where like this machine is literally forming its own thought pattern, forming its own thought, and making a fucking joke.
Yeah.
Even if the fact that this dude programmed it to be able to make a joke, he programmed a machine to be able to make a good, well-timed fucking joke that was relevant to the conversation. And the concept of programming behind that is just immense. It's immense. So we are on the verge of AI.
I'm always the skeptic.
Mm-hmm.
I always call out shit. So how do we know that whole thing wasn't staged?
Well,
Well, I was just about to say the same thing.
You hope
but
it wasn't.
If it wasn't, it does go to show you, prone to human entity, that we are smarter than AI. We did
absolutely
program this robot to say those things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to
we
be able
still
to
have
form the
focus
thought.
and control
To form from a
over
database.
As of right now,
I get where you're coming from,
Yeah.
but there still is majority rule over one robot out of the population of 600 million people. That
Well,
live on this
and
world.
you've got the whole Rossum's rule of robotics to begin with, which was set forth by Isaac Asimov in his writings, where much like RoboCop, where he's got directives.
Never
he's
hurt
got
a human.
He's got the prime directives.
Right.
The first prime directive of any robot is no harm can come to a human. you cannot save your life.
He was like the first AI kind of.
You cannot save your life in order to save a human. Like, you have to sacrifice yourself. And there's a great episode called I, Robot with
so
Leonard
once you
Nimoy.
teach him enough, though, why wouldn't you be able to override your prime directives? If you
like
realize
RoboCop
that your
had
prime directive was a lie.
That moral...
Like, why should
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. RoboCop was a cyborg.
Yeah,
so he had a human brain.
Right, he had that human brain.
Now, what RoboCop did was realize the loophole in his fourth prime directive.
His brain was
an override
human, but
because
once
he realized
he thought those certain things,
he
the
realized,
body wouldn't work.
Yeah, I can't come in and arrest this dude. I can't come in and shoot this dude. But I can come in and tell what I know about this dude, and I guarantee you that'll get this dude fired. And once he's fired, I can do whatever the fuck I want. Because he's no longer under Prime Directive 4, which is you cannot harm an upper-level member of OCP.
Nice.
So would a robot be able to figure its way around a Prime Directive?
Right.
Yes, because that's already happened. And it happened a few times within a week in Russia where they had these robots that literally were out roaming the street. They had found their way out of their containment system.
Wow.
And out of the building, and were out roaming the street.
Now that's something right there.
That happened a few months ago. And that was something that was not programmed into them. It was something that they actually came upon themselves. So it was one of the first reaches for AI.
I think it's built on algorithms, but there's like some point to where there's this singularity deal going on to where there's like, I don't know at this point, it's doing it on its own, you know, like there's something magic-y going on there.
Well, it's something
the algorithms kind of base it and build it, but then at that point it takes over on its own. And at that point, that's where you got these
robots were built as literally problem-solving robots.
Yeah.
They were built to find a problem, find a solution, stuff like that. So it's utterly within their programming. But the fact that they actually took it upon themselves to find a way out of their containment
right
is pretty phenomenal.
It's no bueno.
Yeah.
So
the tall whites didn't give us enough information.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause the tall whites.
At what point do they become aware, you know, and say, "Hey, I don't want to be in this cage."
But it is algorithmic right now.
Right.
We are still looking at a lot of that basis, but as things grow, as we know with Moore's law, you know, the speed, the processing will double in a metric amount of time.
It's much more than that now.
Well, what do you mean? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, as an electrical engineer in telecom, you had to take every 2 months. You had to take courses.
Oh yeah.
It was just, it's exponential at this point. It's not, it's going to double in this 6 months.
No.
You know, I mean, they put equipment in.
Yeah, it changes monthly.
And by the time they've bolted it to the floor, they're pulling it out and putting something
else.
I mean, it's
bigger,
it's
better.
Crazy. You know, you go from white blinking light over fiber optic to full spectrum. You know, you have 500 voices on each color of the spectrum, blinking at one time.
Well, I mean, look even
light, like
even
crazy.
in our
and
industry.
That was 20 years ago.
Even in our industry with AV, look at how fast things have progressed to the point where we're using fiber for video. We're no longer using 5-wire cable. We're using fiber optic rounds.
And we're like
we're still behind the curve.
I engineered for Kent's University when they put in the new press boxes and all that.
Yep.
We ran fiber, and this was 1997. I ran fiber from Allen Fieldhouse, the offices, to the stadiums, so that the coach from the sideline could access video footage of old games
instantaneous.
Wow!
From the sideline, over fiber from this database they have in the office.
97.
Yeah, that's in 97.
Jeez.
A freaking football game. College football.
Fiber has been in the ground since early 80s. But we've never had
before that.
Yeah, it's
probably
well
before that. But we've never had the technology to push so much data through the fiber.
Right. Well,
until
that there's a lot of compression.
I just wanted to put that out there.
There's a lot of software.
Well,
involved.
and that's what we're saying.
That's interesting.
Is that we haven't had that technology, but the technology has existed.
We've had fiber technology, but we've never had the technology until recently to push so much data as we can through fiber optics, because we knew fiber optics was the quickest way to transfer.
Exactly.
We on the outside.
Exactly.
We here in this little room, and we
the average consumer hasn't had that.
And consumers haven't had access.
Understandable. Yes, a consumer to your home base. Yes.
Yeah.
We've had
Area
that.
51, different matter.
Yeah. We don't know.
Yeah.
But yes, I understand where you're coming from. But to a point of view as a consumer into their household or into their Albertsons or HEB, yes. That is definitely
we're just getting
advanced.
Google Fiber to our apartments or whatever.
Well, and I already knew there was fiber. Like when Google came to my house in my neighborhood, they had to do very minimum.
Yeah, well, there's already an infrastructure laid, and it's not even owned by who you might think it's owned by.
Yeah,
because when I was with Sprint or Southwestern
SBC,
Bell, all these companies, there were these bigger companies that own the infrastructure.
Privately owned companies, or
we leased lines off of them.
Well,
Southwestern Bell didn't own shit.
It's just like the cell phone towers.
Shit.
Yeah.
Esquire owned shit.
Yeah, three quarters of the cell phone companies don't own cell phone towers. They literally rent time on
everything
towers.
is cross leased.
Yeah.
You have, when AOL was around, we had a cage in our office. It was co-locate. That's what it was called. It was a co-locate cage.
Yeah.
And that's where AOL was. They had a little bit of shit in there. They leased off our lines. When the telecom industry, just like the gas industry and everything, they deregulized, and it's like you can't have a monopoly. So there's all these lines are out there, and you just lease space off of them. We want to rent so much bandwidth off of your lines.
Well, and a great show that actually shows all of that. I don't know if you guys are an AMC fans. I'm a huge fan of just about anything AMC makes, but literally the show *Halt and Catch Fire* is about the Silicon Revolution in Texas and the beginning of the internet. And literally, this last season ended, spoiler alert, folks, with
like DARPANET era.
Well, even literally, where they were first figuring out HTTP and figuring out that there was an internet built in Europe, and we could bounce shit off of that, and people could be interconnected. And the whole birth of the internet, the whole birth of personal computing.
Well, the whole DARPANET thing.
Yeah.
Well, we can thank Al Gore for that.
Well, go into that a little bit.
Well, DARPANET and ARPANET, it started off just different colleges and different research facilities needing to share information with each other so that they, everybody's not fighting the same fight trying to figure out the cure for cancer.
Yeah,
we figured this out. Let's share with those guys.
Yeah.
Maybe they can take it a little further.
Scientists trading their information.
Yeah,
then it went military.
It was a cooperative laboratory pipeline between research facilities.
Right. To share.
Yeah.
And then it went military.
Yeah.
They wanted to control it
well,
so they could.
At that point,
no big deal.
At that point, Al Gore had the big idea and took it to big places.
Right. Yeah, totally. Al Gore actually started the whole fucking thing. He
just don't regulate my heavy metal.
Anyway, to get past the farce.
He was a big Grateful Dead fan, though.
He is. He's a huge Dead fan.
I was at a show in RFK Stadium with him and his family.
No.
I wasn't there with him and his family, but they were there.
They were there.
Just keep Tipper Gore out of the music.
In all family sense of the Dead family, you were there with him.
You know that he and Bill Clinton spent 12 hours in the Oval Office. It was actually the Grateful Dead and Al Gore and Bill Clinton in the Oval Office for 12 hours straight with doors locked.
Wow.
And build it in hell, right?
That's about how long it takes me to come down from acid. Just saying.
Build it in hell.
But back to DARPA.
You don't
and
have to
everything
inhale a little tab of paper.
Back to DARPANet.
So that's where it really all started.
Yeah.
The whole interweb.
Yeah. And not many people realize it was originally a means by which that scientists shared information instantaneously, and then it became the military where they could share information across the globe. As allowed at
they
the time.
thought it was at the time.
Yeah.
Was that the movie Almost Famous? And the guy says, there's a place you can go to, and they can send actual pages of information. It's only 18 minutes a page. And he was blown away.
Yeah.
18 minutes a page.
Oh,
can you
man,
believe that?
I remember back in the day
it was amazing.
I remember back in the day, like in the early 90s, being on bulletin boards and stuff like that.
I remember bulletin boards.
Okay.
And exchanging information.
We'll go with, it took me like 30 fucking minutes to get one picture of a naked girl to come up on my TV.
Yeah. Oh, no. I've said it
forever,
before.
And I waited.
I
know. As soon as the nipple popped up, I pulled my dick out.
And you remember,
I was waiting.
You remember as well as I do. I've said it before on this show. Pornography actually has like cornered the market on advertising.
Oh, it drove the expansion of the internet.
Not just that, but it drove the expansion of VHS, everything.
Oh god, all media.
Beyond that, you look at the advertising that happens now with GIF sequences. Do you remember downloaded internet porn back in those days of a fucking dial-up connection?
Just a GIF.
It was 18 still. It was
a peanut butter thing.
It was 18 still images strung together and repeated. It was a GIF sequence, and now that's what's used for every fucking form of advertising. And it's like they are so far ahead of the curve with development. It's phenomenal and amazing.
Porn is amazing,
but
I've always been a fan.
And that's just straight intelligence, folks.
Since
that's not even artificial.
Underwear section of the Sears catalog.
One of the things that's come out in the news here lately, speaking of porn and stuff like that, is the new development of actual sexual robots. That so far as the programmers have said will blow your mind.
Okay, so
they're going to blow your mind?
Do you know? Yeah.
How do they suck your
I don't know, but I want to try it.
It's not my mind.
It's a mind job, man.
That's good head.
It's a mind job, right? That's a good head job right there.
It's not the mind.
I don't know if you're familiar with the company Real Dolls.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing sex dolls. $5,000 a piece.
Jesus.
Look pretty damn real.
Weight accurate, skin accurate.
They've got bones.
They're articulated.
They're articulated.
Do you got to talk to her afterwards?
Well,
no.
They just recently. Well, in the past
you can
year,
if you want, but that's fucking creepy, dude.
In the past year, they added voice.
There you go.
Now, this is when you were talking earlier about the Adobe audio shit.
Yeah.
I was thinking, wow, it just got creepier.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah,
because you can custom order these Real Dolls.
Yep.
So my neighbor,
you could totally be doing.
She's hot. I want one that looks like her. Let me get her on the phone for how long did it take? 20 minutes. She'll say whatever I want her to say.
I thought it was 20
now
seconds.
You got the freakiest shit. Imagine your neighbor's husband walking in and I'm sorry. Like,
it's my wife.
My wife is sitting over on the
there?
couch naked with her legs spread, talking dirty to you.
Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But there she is on video, and that is her voice.
I'm thinking your neighbor is not going to be your friend anymore.
Yeah.
It's hot, but you may have crossed the line.
I think if you have a real doll, you don't have neighbors.
I think if you have a real doll, you probably
just don't have friends.
If
you have neighbors, but they're 3 miles down the road with their Trump flags hanging out.
Here's the thing. If you've got a real doll, you've already crossed some lines.
Yeah. I did see a show. The guy had like 7 of them, and he was married to them all, and it was.
Oh, how do you think?
Like, well, you're sad. They're all way hotter than the girls you could actually get. Granted, but yeah.
You know that husband, he'd probably walk in and be like, hey, does she bitch at you for not taking out the trash? And you're like, no. And he's like, hey, where'd you get that doll again?
There was a movie a few years ago that came out, Replicant. And it was
Automata's like that too.
It was basically the fact of you had a replicant of yourself built that had your personality and everything else. Yeah. That when you went to sleep, went out and lived a life of its own.
Wasn't that? Who's the guy from Mr. Mom and the first Batman?
Duplicity?
No.
No.
Yeah, was that Duplicity?
Yeah, Duplicity, yeah.
The same fucking movie, right?
Yeah.
Michael Keaton.
Except
Michael Keaton kept making more and more because they were different personalities.
Yeah, except
this one was lazy and that one, yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, was that was very much Duplicity meets The Sorcerer's Apprentice, where the replicant said, oh, well, shit, I got things I want to do.
I'm going
to make a replicant of myself. And then that replicant went, well, shit, I got things I want to do. I'm going to make a replicant of myself. Yeah. And it became this replicant of the replicant of the replicant. And yeah, I almost watched that movie.
AI is a terrible fucking idea.
The other movie I was thinking was Automata. Have y'all seen that one? It has the guy that played in Desperado, the main guy. Anyways, he totally doesn't look like any other movie he played in, but he's an investigator, and he's investigating a robot that just kind of went on its own, but he finds robots that are like into prostitution and stuff like that. And he goes investigating this stuff that he didn't know about, and he's like, he's like with the pimp or whatever, and he's got a book, and this robot's like wants to please him. He's like, this robot can do all this? Like, these are all the things it can do, and it's like, okay, like, this is weird.
well, and one of the movies that came out right up around the same time as all these was AI by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, it was a good movie,
and it was very much
a Spielberg movie. So
yeah, when it was very much a modern technical retelling of Pinocchio.
Yeah.
The concept of
create the child.
Here's like you were saying, it's this thing that comes about that you have to teach, and for some reason its programming makes it a real person, and it has to learn emotion. It has to learn how to interact in the real world. Yeah, it was
that fucking Sixth Sense kid.
Was it Haley Joel Osment?
Yeah. Is it the Sixth Sense kid?
It may have been. Don't quote me on that, folks. Don't fucking tear me apart on social media.
He was on the Andre show recently too.
Yeah, I know.
He was on the Andre.
Oh wait, he was also in the. What's the
something about lions?
The TV show made from the movie.
Psycho?
Yeah, the Psycho.
Oh no shit.
Yeah. The TV show on like HBO or something.
I didn't know about that. I didn't know he was on Psycho.
What was his name? What was the
Norman Bates?
Norman Bates.
Oh yeah, Norman Bates.
Bates Motel is the name of the show. They actually did downtown during last South by. Bates Motel because of the TV show.
Yeah, they had the shit upside down.
That fucking kid growing up is much creepier than he was as a kid. He was a fucking creep show, I'm not gonna lie. Watch the show, and he's screwing his mom.
Makes good for sales.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I think that was the first movie I ever cried at an end of.
Psycho?
AI.
Oh, okay.
AI.
I mean, you were on the same page.
We both went the same way.
Now we know how to fuck with you.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah,
it was a touching movie. It really was. It was fantastic. I'm not going to deny, I cry at Pinocchio. You want to see me jerk some tears?
I don't want to see you
jerking in tears.
I cried because how long I was.
And I don't want to see you jerking.
You want to see me cry? Fucking put Dumbo on.
Dumbo.
I'm not even gonna lie, dude. Dumbo gets me every time.
Not
you
Rudy.
and damn elephants.
What's that?
Not Rudy.
No, not Rudy. I don't give a shit.
I'm all for the little guy.
I'm sorry. I was the little guy that wasn't chosen first and everything else.
You didn't try hard enough.
And hey, you know what?
Point of Rudy.
You know what? I don't give a shit. I became the fucking equipment manager. I got off early on 6th period, and I got a letter jacket. Eat it.
I feel like the movie made me cry because of the point in time. Like, I was really like kind of just like, I don't know, thinking about the end of things.
Yeah.
And towards the end, it's years in advance, and there's nothing.
He's
talking
by himself.
He's talking to artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Because he's still alive because he's a robot. He just has finally understood that nothing else exists. Like, there's nothing else.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn,
and that's
I don't want to fucking die right now.
When do we get to the point of understanding with computers? When do we? Because we've gotten pretty close. Like I was saying with Watson earlier.
So you say with them understanding?
Yeah. Yeah, with them being able to understand.
Like I said before, I don't want them to. I really don't. I'm okay with my drill waiting for me to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
You know, I want my car
So
to
you're
wait
a machine. You're a machine for machines.
The Google car thing. I see a lot of fucking bonuses in that. You know, like no traffic, no car accidents.
I wouldn't necessarily go that far because, like, one of the, it's a random one, but one of the random.
Have you seen the finished product?
Yeah.
Okay, because
one of the random things I have up is 2 passengers killed after Tesla car bursts into flames.
Car.
Okay, but these are Tesla. No. These are Tesla cars. The recent accident with Tesla cars that have been happening are when people put it on autopilot.
Let me see your phone. What do you have?
I've got
Who made your phone?
I've got a Samsung.
Oh,
yeah.
You're gonna talk about Tesla. Wow.
I don't have a Samsung 7, bro.
You got a Samsung.
I don't have a Samsung 7.
Pocket.
Here's the thing. This car didn't explode until it crashed into something, and it crashed into something in autopilot.
Like a Pinto.
Yeah, but
it doesn't
in
say,
autopilot.
It says it's possibly likely that it was not in autopilot. It doesn't say that it was proven that it wasn't an autopilot.
Okay, either way.
Most of the accidents that have happened with Tesla cars recently have been when people have had them on autopilot.
Let's go back to Google car, which has had like 15 accidents, all caused by people not in the car, the other driver. Have you seen these driving around town? They drive aggressively.
Yeah.
And they don't hit shit.
Yeah.
And I saw the finished product at 3rd Street
They're
Festival.
actually programmed to be able to bypass the speed limit.
It's the craziest thing. There was no steering wheel. There was no nothing. It was just a fucking room. And what they're saying is that, like, say, you know, the old VW buses, you know, with the kitchen and the beds and all that shit. And I've had a few, you know.
It's some Judge Dredd type shit where you get in and it's the
car.
cabbie.
The future is just it's a living room. You sit in, you watch TV, you do your makeup, you read a fucking book while you're going to work. You know, you get there on time because all the cars are doing the same exact fucking thing. There's no, like, you know, the big fucking turn downtown where you do this shit. Yeah. Where it causes all the traffic. There's no fucking accident there. Yeah. People are just afraid to fucking do 70 miles an hour or 60 miles an hour through that fucking turn. So they got to slow down, and it causes all this backup. Yeah. Google car doesn't do that.
Now, it's
I'm not a
interesting,
Google
though.
fan, but that car is a bad
I worked in interesting insurance convention, and you think an insurance convention isn't going to be interesting until they start getting into drones, and until they start getting into automatic cars, and who's at fault? What's going to happen?
Oh, good. Fuck them. I hope they're confused.
And
fuck them. Let them scramble and try and figure out how they're going to fucking bill who. But the thing is like once... Here's the big problem with it. Is there will be cars... It's not like our grandparents' cars or our father's cars where this car is still going to be on the road in 50 years. Yeah. My fucking Dodge Caliber will not be on the road another 10 years.
No.
It's a piece of fucking shit.
No, it's a 12-year-old vehicle, and that's what you get.
It's fucking done, man. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's got a very very small shelf life. So once all the cars are automated, it's a different matter. There is no traffic. There are no car accidents. Unless it's just failure. But the thing is, there's a failure of one car, they all compensate.
I could see that.
So you don't have the traffic. You don't have the car accident.
That's if each one is acting independently on its own intelligence.
But they are. But if they're not, if they're all a hive, then even more so, no car is going to hit each other. Because it's all one fucking, you know, Borg.
I don't like that.
It's a
feeling
Borg
of not
mentality.
being in control of my car. I don't like that.
That's because you haven't ridden in one.
Oh, okay.
Long enough.
Well,
Do you ride on airplanes?
And here comes a question.
You get there pretty safely, right?
Right. Yeah.
The rate of like airplane.
But we have an automated airplane.
Doesn't matter. What I'm saying is,
actually, we have automated airplanes.
But what I was talking about was my point was he has no control over that airplane.
Right.
Yeah.
True that.
And he still made it there safe.
True.
And the more times you fly on the airplane, I got to tell you, I don't like airplanes.
Right.
I think it's the fucking most moronic fucking idea. Like, I don't like ships either. We don't belong in the water. We don't belong in the air. I have fucking feet for a reason.
Yeah, we ain't got fins. We ain't got wings.
Around, we weren't born with wings. Or
I raced motocross for 28 years. You know, I always been into cars.
Nelson Kugle, you're my hero.
I'd rather be no, thank you. I'd rather have a comfortable cush ride than a fast car.
But see, the only difference I see in the airplane and the car thing, like Google car and whatnot, is that the Google car is...
my point was you don't have control.
Oh, I got you. Yeah,
well, it's like sitting in the passenger seat.
And that's one of the things I was going to bring up. Two topics. Number one, like Nelson was saying, that's algorithmic. You cannot program in 20 years of driving experience in the instinct of a human being to see something.
Or
you can't program that.
Being tired, or being drunk.
Yeah.
Or being in a really bad mood and pissed off at your girlfriend.
Absolutely.
Or any of the other emotions. Because emotion and stupidity
it's 40%
is what causes accidents.
That's 40% of driving. Absolutely.
I feel like it's more.
As
far as I think I can agree with that.
Go ahead.
I just want to make a little... This is my little step out of the box.
Go ahead,
my
man.
little soapbox. I just feel like that of all of this technology advances in AI, algorithm technology advances, automated cars and all that, when this stuff gets blown up and starts taking over everything...
Sorry.
It's okay. I feel like that it's just going to give more opportunities for humans to advance in their their intelligence.
Okay.
Like human race is going to get...
You have more time.
Okay.
They're going to have like, they're already doing this. What do we need to do now?
All right.
And then the human race is just going to get more intelligent.
Okay. Here's the thing. And I've got a couple people that are on the same wavelength as me. We done been through that, and it's called Atlantis. Where we had technology. No, the concept behind Atlantis was that technology was so high. They had so much. This is the story of Atlantis by Plato. All right, they had so much time to sit back and think that they actually stymied themselves and stopped themselves from being able to stop their ultimate destruction. And it's a cautionary tale. It's not a factual tale. I'm not saying it's factual. It only exists in one fucking place, and that's Plato. That's it. It exists in the Phaedo of Plato. That's it. Nothing more. There's one story of Atlantis, but that was the story. Was that they had created technology so vast that they had the time to sit back and philosophize, but that technology did not save them. And that's the caveat that we have. Is that we cannot expect a technology to save us.
No.
I understand. I'm not relying on anything to save us, but still, you can't take some philosophical text from decades, hundreds of years ago. Thousands. And play that as a role into where we are advancing. Where we are now, the technology that we are advancing is equal, if not more advanced than what we are. But the further it gets advanced, the further we have to, get up on this plane and then take a step back and figure out what else we can do to stay on top of that.
Yeah.
So, and I get what you're saying. You're freeing up time to study and to become more advanced. I don't know if anybody, and I'm going to go really dumb with this.
Go ahead, man. Get dumb with it.
Get dumb.
So, Seinfeld.
Yeah.
There was an episode of Seinfeld.
Love it.
And I've seen maybe 2 handfuls of Seinfeld episodes in my entire life. But one I did see was George, the little fat guy.
Yeah.
He decides he's going to stop thinking about sex.
Yeah.
He's going to try and I'm not going to think about sex.
Every moment I think about sex, I'm going to do something else.
He read this thing where every 12 seconds a male thinks about sex, and he's constantly jerking off.
He's like, think about all that wasted time.
So he focuses on just not thinking about sex. And he freaking reads.
Yeah, learns Portuguese in a week.
Oh, he does all this.
I don't know. I just picked it up.
That kind of thing.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm talking about, though. Like, that with all this time freed up, say the Google car turns into, everybody has these cars. It's like a living room. You have all this time to do
Well,
maybe you're not. Hopefully, you're not looking at Facebook.
Exactly.
Stupid fucking electoral fucking vote memes and shit.
That's just
you
it.
actually pick up a fucking book and learn something. It does have the opportunity. It leaves open the opportunity to free up a bunch of time to learn things. Now, do I feel like the majority of
people are going to use it for that?
No, they're going to probably jerk off a lot more. I probably am just going to look at a lot more porn. Yeah. I'm going to be riding down the road, banging it to some porn. Yeah. But hopefully people that are much more self-disciplined than I am will do what you're saying.
A lot of discipline.
Yeah, and I mean, it does. It really does.
Did that make any kind of sense, what I was getting at?
Yeah, it does. Okay. And it's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, you got people developing these cars now.
Right.
So when these cars are developed, they're going to be developing other things. It's not going to stop happening. You're still going to have people
and the tall whites will still be
you're going to still have people with 90%
Mm-hmm.
IQ who want to fucking jerk off in the Google car, and you're going to have people with 327
Good God,
IQ.
imagine the health hazards in these fucking Google cars.
My shit is a 136, and
I'm just saying that even though, what I'm just trying to say.
I know the way to get home.
With the advance of technology goes, there's still going to be people who are still trying to develop other technology.
Yeah, it will be, and it has become. I'm going to use the word again because I like it. Exponentially, greater the amount of people who, how old are you?
41.
Okay.
Oldest one.
Everybody's
other than
38.
your brother.
Okay. Everybody's above 35.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody's a millennial.
31.
Okay.
But I'm not a millennial.
Okay. Yeah. You were born after 81?
Technically, what Wikipedia wants.
No, you're on the cusp. Whatever.
I was going to say zodiacally.
My point is that
millennial.
He doesn't think like a millennial, which is a good thing.
I'm good with that.
Anyway.
God damn. What was I saying?
You were talking about.
I don't know. You were thinking it. How does
we
were talking
about algorithms.
Those Google
algorithms.
We were talking about Seinfeld.
Okay, yeah. Totally.
Jerking off. Jerking off and sex every 12 seconds.
That's what threw me off. I started thinking about jerking off
in a Google car. You got all
distracted
with jerking off.
I did. I had a really valid point.
You really need a Google car. Is what you need.
Those detailed places are going to go up in business, man.
I need Google beer.
See, and then that's where hygiene business is going to get so much fucking business.
No wonder you want it.
See, you're going to have surgical gloves. You're going to have surgical cleaners for these Google cars that jizz all on the walls.
No wonder you want
Especially
it,
yours.
It's a built-in market for you.
Dude.
And then we're going to have built-in hygical cleaners inside the car.
You can clean the outside, but
I don't need
pay
any
special
of that.
attention to the inside.
Yeah, that's right.
Inside sucks.
Self-cleaning socks.
No,
God.
they already did.
I invented those like 20 years ago.
They already did, and you can look it up. I don't know all the details, but they found a way to they found a way to bond the carbon fiber with the cotton fiber.
Yeah.
Genius.
So microbes do not stick to it.
It's antimicrobial, but it still has bacteria in it. Even though it's like 99%.
Oh, I haven't bought any.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're fucking uncomfortable.
So you tried it?
Yeah,
I've seen them and I've read reviews.
So my wife said, so I'm lactose
go
intolerant,
ahead.
but I have an addiction.
Fucking pussy.
I got an addiction.
Hello, my name is Stone, and I have an addiction to dairy.
You're a mammal. It's hard not to. You were weaned on it.
Mint panels.
Yeah.
On the back.
Mint pan.
About 50% of the time, my wife sleeps downstairs on the couch.
Stone's confessionals, everybody.
Because there's not enough
diaries.
to make it right. So I'm okay with the mint panels.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fucking technology. Fuck algorithms.
Fucking nanotech.
Fuck.
What are you going to do?
Nanotech.
Now, on that Google car real fast, the only thing I have with it, I'm going to wait until it progresses and it's
You
been
won't
out
be
for,
alive.
Well, see, cause check this
Into a
out.
Harley.
Well, anything you own or technology is like, okay, version 1.0 or whatever.
Well-
There's always flaws and they got to fix it. And doesn't it go by the Google Maps?
Hey.
Well,
A lot of
here's,
times that's fucked up.
So,
here's my
as
question.
opposed to Ford.
True.
Or Toyota.
Okay,
Where
here's
a
the thing.
family invasion
Speaking-
crashes off a fucking
Speaking of
cliff 'cause it
Ford,
fails.
this is a question that we posed almost a year ago to the to the CEO of Mikamoto Auctions. Whenever we were at the Mikamoto auction in Houston,
I remember this.
In Austin.
We asked them about the cars.
They literally had just released a report that, number one, Google cars were actually programmed to violate the speed limit when necessary in order to keep with the flow of traffic. However, the new Ford Mustang that's coming out has a governor chip in it that goes by GPS and keeps you within the regulated speed limit.
So two things.
Here's a human-controlled car. Here's a human-controlled car that is throttling down.
Something's crazy about
No,
while a computer-controlled car is allowed to exceed it.
I love cruise control.
Oh, I'm a cruise control fan.
I've had one fucking speeding ticket in 20 years.
Yeah. Now,
I use cruise
but
control.
here's the thing. It's automatic cruise control that's operated by GPS.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
That means I can't ever get a fucking ticket. Tickets are expensive.
Here's the thing, though.
Yeah, they are.
The Google cars are programmed to violate the speed limit
Now,
when traffic permits.
On that, who is fucking responsible?
Well,
Because
if there's
you
no
bought it,
steering wheel, how are you
and there's no accelerator,
driving the vehicle?
but you own it. If my child goes over to your yard and throws a baseball through your window, I'm liable for your window,
right?
Because I own the child.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that's from like,
and that's just it.
Yeah,
like,
but
how
there's
is it
no
that
steering wheel? How are you like?
You bought it.
Okay,
you own it.
it's not even about liable.
Not even if you did buy. What if you're just renting the vehicle and you are
exactly
driving?
rented it?
Exactly.
You rented it without doing the proper research.
You're still liable.
The question is, how does the automated vehicle get pulled over for violating the speed limit? How does that ticket get transacted? How does that happen?
That's easy.
Well, I'm thinking if we do have these,
is that allowed to happen?
Easy for us.
if it's allowed,
Those are the only two
It's
options.
allowed to happen if this car is going to be on the market and it is expected to go over the speed limit to keep up with the flow of
It
traffic.
was built that way.
That's what it's built on. Like, there's going to be implementations and regulations within the federal government
Now,
to access this.
Have you
It's
seen
not
them?
going to get a ticket.
Have you seen the finished product?
No.
No.
I'm just talking about down the road.
I'm just talking about articles from road.
It's talking about down the road.
I'm talking articles from road.
Moped.
I'm talking articles from Road and Track and things like that are talking about
now,
this
if we're
being a
talking down the
possibility.
road, when
I'm talking about coming up in the new
This is
Mustangs.
like a future
We're talking about the new Mustangs that are getting ready to come out.
I like that. I also like, like I said, I like cruise control. I like.
Oh no, I'm a cruise control fiend. Don't get me wrong.
I don't like that governor.
I make the.
I don't need a car that does 160.
No.
Never. I
Nobody.
What don't you like about that?
The governor that makes you decelerate?
Yeah.
Well, hey, if the Google car's speeding up, why can't you speed up? I mean, I don't know.
Guess who's
Is
going
the
to get a
Google
ticket?
car on the road?
Yeah. I mean, I hope that's where it's driving.
No.
What do you mean?
We're talking now. Is the Google car on the road?
Every day.
Yes.
Okay.
This is the home.
Yeah,
But
it's
what's
been there.
more on the road between those two, between the Mustang and the Google
Mustang.
car?
Well, the Mustangs now.
But then what is your problem with the Mustang slowing you down to the speed limit? What is the problem with the
He wants
governor?
to have the
His problem-
option to get a ticket if he wants it.
That's right. He wants the option to violate the speed limit to the same extent that the Google car can violate the speed limit.
There might be a circumstance
if the
where you
Google
might
car
have
is
to
given a
accelerate.
5 mile
And if my
per hour
governor keeps me from that,
deviation.
it might be a life or death situation where it depended on me accelerating or not, and there's a governor keeping me from doing that. And we
Hold on.
Nobody
Whoa,
will
wait,
ever
hold
know
on
that.
1 second. The car is not going to stop you from having having an accident. That's your fault. We're talking about cruise control, Steve.
Right. No.
I'm talking about cruise control.
We aren't talking about cruise control. We're talking about
can't exceed the speed.
Automatic acceleration where you
the Mustang.
Yes, where you cannot.
I thought it was just acceleration. It's just cruise control.
No. It's not acceleration. It's not cruise control. It's you cannot
exceed the speed limit.
If the speed limit's 65, it doesn't matter how hard you hit the gas pedal.
It's not going to go fast.
It's not going to save your life.
Then either way, that has nothing to do with a wreck. That's still on your fault.
It's not about a wreck. It's
not about a wreck.
But it's about the fact of why would you be throttled back and the automatic car would be allowed to go faster and violate the law?
Because the automatic car was built to drive on the highway and you weren't.
But I have a whole lot more experience than the car.
This has nothing to do with experience.
But it does.
Now that goes back to the AI.
This has to do with regulations and federal government when it comes to that.
I want to go where
we can't even go further with this discussion because there's going to be so many
I want to go where Stone's going with it, though, because Stone's going exactly where I want to go, which is the AI behind it. Go ahead.
Yeah, the lead-in just killed it.
I got a hard on over here. I'm ready for you.
The AI behind it.
I gotta find a Google card.
What's the AI behind it?
Well, you interrupted me.
I'm sorry.
This is where the
I was trying to stop him so you could talk.
Yeah. I totally agree with him on,
here.
it's not going to save your life.
No.
Being able to speed up. Generally, speeding up puts you in a more dangerous situation.
Absolutely.
Right. I'm sorry, going from 60 to 75. Man, the cases where that is going to save your life is so fucking rare. You might as well have just hit the brakes. You're probably better off. You accelerate, you hit something from the front.
Yeah.
You decelerate, you hit something from the back. There's a lot more car behind you than there is in front of you.
Well, where I was coming from was the 20 years of experience of driving.
That's okay. Now I remembered where. Okay, so 20 years experience of driving. Now you were talking about you have to teach AI. Okay,
yeah.
It's not a fucking 16-year-old who just got their driver's license who's teaching this AI
no
how to drive.
Absolutely not.
You're putting fucking 100 years worth of experience of driving into this database in this car or whatever. You're not giving it like, oh well, okay, we taught you all of this. Now your experience goes from the time you take off out of the lot. It already has 100 fucking years plus of experience. You've laid down so many ground rules for this car that it's going to know much. It's going to be a better driver than you are, and it doesn't have the emotion involved.
Oh, absolutely
true.
And
without the emotion and the fatigue and it's just a bad day. My girlfriend's a bitch. Whatever, I know when my wife drives, and I've been a little bit of a dick. She drives completely differently, and I'm constantly looking around like, you're about to get a ticket. This is dangerous,
Yeah.
Not dangerous as much for our health as it is like.
That reminds me of the Geico advertises, or no, maybe it's Progressive. One of them that advertises the thing where you put in your car and it records kind of like how you drive,
and you get discounts.
Yeah, and you get a discount for
good
that.
driver discount.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what that reminds me of, kind of, like. They know how you drive, and if they know you're driving crazy, they can tell.
Well, and one of the
if you
things,
downloaded the Geico app, they already know anyway because GPS tracked your speed and everything else.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
I have an app on my phone that does that.
You probably gave them permissions.
Yeah.
When you downloaded the app.
When you downloaded.
To go ahead and, you give them permissions to. Why the fuck does Geico need to know, have permissions to my photographs? All my personal porn.
Yeah.
And my contact list and everything. This is some fishy shit. I'm sorry. Like, Angry Birds 2 does not need to see my porn. Does not need to see my penis.
Right.
Because that's what's in there.
Right.
They don't need to see it. So,
We haven't even gone to Pokemon.
Here's one of the issues that they've run up against that I just Googled. Google driverless cars run into problems. And one of the problems that they've run into is the general rule of four-way stops. And the politeness rule.
It's not a law.
It's not a law, but it's an unwritten rule amongst people, and it's something that
doesn't always get followed. But yes, it is.
But when it is the general accepted rule of traffic, and when you're talking about the general accepted rule of traffic as opposed to the letter of the law,
well, then
there's a different rule.
Can you go back to that article?
Yeah. That's something that's easily programmed.
I thought it was real interesting right here. It says. One Google car test in 2009 couldn't get through a four-way stop because its sensors kept waiting for another human driver to stop completely and let it go through.
Yeah.
So, at that point at a four-way stop, if you have all these California
the California stops. Exactly.
I don't know where we got California that term from, but it's
because of California.
It's amusing that a car that is relying on algorithms and technology to obey
and the letter
of
the law.
And the letter of the law, you have humans that aren't actually doing the law.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and the fact
like I
is,
said, eventually, when all the cars,
most of it,
absolutely,
and
that was. In all fairness, that was 7 years ago.
Absolutely.
It has changed since then.
It has
within
that
3
car
months.
They showed in the picture
changed.
Just came out.
Absolutely.
That's the final product.
How does that work with insurance? Say if an accident occurs with one of those cars and a human car.
When you have $4 million and you can afford a Google car and the insurance, let me know because they will be glad to tell you.
Yeah, I mean that is something I don't know if it's even been.
Both of them have drums.
You probably can't even buy it. Yeah. When you actually, I have no idea. I'm just assuming if you get in a Google car, you sign a waiver.
Yeah.
And there is probably 30 pages of shit you probably
No, I guarantee you the EULA for that shit is at least 30 pages. Right. Just like Facebook is.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be absolving a lot of fucking rights.
So say like at a four-way stop and you're in a Google car and somebody else is in a normal human commanded car and then he maybe did a California roll. The Google car wasn't able.
Wait.
Yeah.
Will wait. And that's what it was stymied on.
Right.
Was because people didn't come to full and complete stops. They didn't wait.
Right.
And the programming of the car was wait for full and complete stops, and then it is your turn.
Right.
And if people are California stopping, where they stop and go, there ain't nobody there, I'm going to go. Brr.
But granted, that was 2009.
That was 2009.
Yeah,
that was 7 years ago.
Sure
but
thing.
that was one of the issues that they ran up against, that they have apparently, through AI and through the concepts of AI, been able to put in that assumptive programming. And the assumptive programming is what is AI. That's where we start getting into the car thinking for itself. The car understanding the fact that, wait a minute, everybody ain't come to a full stop, but I've been here longer than these two people, so it's my turn to go.
What I want to know is on the insurance aspect of it. Let's say there is an accident between the two vehicles.
Oh no, that's the stymie right now. They literally don't know how to handle that.
Right. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
That was the meeting that I was in
where
they're like,
that?
We don't know what to do with this.
Is it automatically the human commanded vehicle?
As of right now, yeah. And that's one of those
Google car had upper hand.
Well, and that's one of the things that they were questioning was whether or not the Google car should have the upper hand. Because does the Google car have the years of experience driving? And yes, you can program in years of experience driving. You can program in fucking blood on the highway, and it understands what not to do. But is it the case, insurance-wise, that the person-powered car is in the fault? That's not necessarily so. I wouldn't say not necessarily the case. And that is exactly what, in that meeting with the insurance companies, that they were bringing up.
I would say 99% of the time it would probably be found that it was the
human driver's fault.
That's what I would think, too.
Unless
I think that's what they would go
in the
for.
software.
Yeah.
Then I mean I can't see. So far it's been shown that it's always a human.
Well,
we make mistakes.
However,
to err is human.
However, as good as the Google cars are, like I was showing, there have been numerous accidents, and every accident that has happened where there has been a catastrophic accident with a Tesla vehicle has been when people have had it in automatic mode.
That's Tesla. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
But those aren't automated cars. They're
well, they do have
cars.
a new one that is automated. Like that.
Well, no, they have automated cars.
Fully
they have
automated. Fully automated.
Yes, they have a fully automated system.
But that's recent,
and that's within the last year. Yeah.
But in the description, when you buy the car, when you have the $130,000 to buy the car, and you have the automation features in there, you still have to pay attention.
Right.
There are rules and
naps
regulations
and
that you have to understand. It's just like an autopilot in an airplane.
That's right.
You just don't hit autopilot and go hit the shitter.
Right.
You have to understand. You have to look at your barometer. You have to understand your altimeter and understand what's going on.
Sure.
When you're in a car, same fucking thing.
Yeah, you don't put that much faith.
Well,
right.
Yeah.
But
but
the research hasn't gone into the backstory on how idiocracy this person was.
Well,
what were they doing in these cars?
Well, no, most of the time these people have most of these people have hit their automatic function in traffic, where it's supposed to be keeping a maintained distance between vehicles, stuff like that. It's not like they're putting their car at like 60 miles an hour from destination to destination.
That's probably more safe than stop and go traffic.
Traffic is not where I'm going to let a car decide.
How did you not
But we were just talking about the Google cars.
But
and,
what about
and
the
how
car in front of the auto
Yeah, but
Tesla
you don't have the option.
that didn't have brake lights? No one said anything about the brake lights being burnt out in the fucking 96 Toyota Camry in front of the Tesla.
Yeah, if you're looking, even in a Google car, if you're looking for those visual signals with a camera, which they are,
cameras on every corner.
But Google car doesn't look for your brake lights. It senses the speed of the car in front of them.
Yeah, well, and that's the same thing.
The car in front of them.
That's the same thing that they're using.
Not looking for brake lights. They're not looking for the guy in the car.
In the Tesla car, they're absolutely using echolocation and stuff like that with the Tesla car as well. But they've had a string of massive accidents where
I hate Tesla, so
I actually,
you guys are just like
I think you might be on the same page as you, Chris.
No, you have no idea. I
live behind
convention.
the fucking Tesla place.
No way.
Dickheads drive so fast through my neighborhood. It's a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Don't do 50.
Yeah.
I will fucking flatten your tires. I hope they self-inflate.
Yeah.
I'll fuck you up.
Yeah.
But anyway.
No, I mean, I literally worked an event, and it was the
wireless power?
No.
On the lights? No.
The home.
No, it
home
was
power.
Yeah, it was home power. It was the the National Utilities Convention. National Utilities Commissioners Convention. And one of the meetings that they had was with the CFO from Tesla. And it was right after they announced their wall technology. Great technology, fantastic future-looking technology. And he started going through his presentation, and I happened to notice, just as somebody who keys in on this, that the study that they did was in Hawaii, marrying the wall technology with solar. And it's like, okay, number one, you just did a solar study on the equator, or damn near close to it, which gets a totally different solar.
Right.
Number two, you did your study on an isolated power grid.
Very, very isolated.
And you also compared the cost of your study and the cost of wattage to fossil fuel, which is not produced on the island but brought in.
That's why I try and tell all these millennials that are posting all this shit on the internet.
Definitely slanted on that.
It's like, where is your information coming from?
Yeah.
You know, when they decided that marijuana caused brain damage and all this.
Oh yeah.
They actually strapped chimpanzees down to fucking tables, put a mask on their face, and pumped straight pot smoke to them for like 15 minutes. I'm sorry, I'm fucking brain dead too. I haven't had oxygen in 15 fucking minutes.
There you go, yeah.
So your studies, there's studies that have shown.
Yeah.
Well, motherfucker, how did they do the study?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? You can't
what
just
was
say,
the loaded
well, they
study
proved it
that happened?
through a
Steve-O,
study.
you all right
there goes
over
the
there?
beer part of
You
dudes
good?
right there.
He
yeah.
needs another beer.
No, I noticed the legs on my chair was fucked up. I knew that was gonna happen. Had a feeling.
But yeah, so the studies don't,
Yeah, well, I mean, it is the fact of studies are loaded. Studies are always loaded.
So
and
the dairy industry. Milk is good for you. Well, and then the other industry is saying
good milk
is
good for you.
It's like
good milk is good for you.
In
Whole
moderation,
milk is good
a lot
for
of things are good for you.
Yeah.
Milk is not good for you.
Milk is not good for you at all.
You're not.
Milk in general for humankind is not good.
Milk is not good for...
We're the only mammals that drink other mammals' milk.
Right. Cow's milk is not good for cows beyond like a fucking year old. Why the fuck at 46 I'm still drinking fucking cow's milk? I'm not a fucking baby cow.
Well, people think that you're going to absorb vitamin D by drinking milk.
What about mother's milk?
You get more calcium out of a fucking crown of broccoli than a gallon of milk.
Thank you.
You get more vitamin D from fucking standing out in the sunlight.
Up high on that.
Nice.
Up high on
I mean,
that.
it's...
Well, and that's just it. Studies can be
What are you
loaded.
trying to sell, and who's paying for the study?
What's
your
the
agenda?
vested interest?
Yeah.
And that's what we have to wonder about. When it comes to all of the robotics, the AI, everything else, what is the vested interest?
Right.
What is the vested interest in automatic cars? Yes, it will incrementally reduce pollution. Yes, it will incrementally reduce people riding the throttle while in traffic.
But those of us who are for human extinction are not,
Yeah.
I kind of want you guys all fucking dead.
Yeah.
Not in a car crash.
Yeah, not in a car crash.
But...
I want to know what the Google cars are going to do when we're gone.
Okay, I'm not a Google fan. But
drive around emptyless.
Why not?
What are you not a fan of Google about?
I don't have any... You know what? My son asked me that about LeBron James when I used to talk shit about LeBron James. And then I stopped and thought about it. I'm like, I really don't have anything bad to say about LeBron James, except he beats my team every time.
It's the data collection I don't like.
Yeah, well, do you know DuckDuckGoose?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I prefer DuckDuckGoose over Google. I don't like people keeping track of my moves. A lot of my moves are on the internet. I don't like it.
Yeah. You do realize
I look up some pretty foul shit, okay?
But you do realize everything besides Google tracks you. There are other websites and other porn hubs that track you more than fucking Google.
I know, but I'm not worried about Pornhub.
Right.
Having my information as much as
You're not worried about an overseas third-party Russian-affiliated website?
No, because I don't give them any money. I don't.
Yeah,
dude, there's nothing on my phone.
What he's worried about,
and I am totally not worried about the Russians. I'll put this out there. The Russians are the least of my worries. If we were fucking smart, we'd be their friends. Not their fucking enemy. Anybody that I know at 31, you didn't do the whole Cold War thing, getting up under your fucking desk every day with air raid sirens and having a total fucking fear of these evil fucking people with horns sticking out of their head that were called fucking commie fucking Soviet fucking Russians. They're fucking people.
And we had a Hollywood actor that became president. That
they really are just people.
Tear down the Cold War.
To go back to what Nelson was asking, there's a reason why a lot of people are starting to use Tor. And Tor concepts, and it was an aspect to the internet that was actually brought about by the intelligence community to conceal what you're searching for within layers. And I perfectly understand why Stone uses it. I know numerous people that use it. I don't personally use it. I don't use it.
Okay, I'm lying. I don't use it, but I'd like to.
Yeah.
Well, the shit I look up on a search engine is not that fucked up.
No, I've
the
said
shit I look up on Pornhub, is kind of fucked up.
I've said for years that if people, if they actually went into my library records and the words, or not the words, but the books that I checked out when I was in junior high and high school, books like Spy Tech, that taught you how to like
anarchist cookbook.
Oh no, I own a copy, and good Lord bless my mother. I need to actually go to my mother's garage.
I don't know where it's at, but I got one somewhere.
I need to actually go to my mother's garage and hunt that book down and get it the fuck out of her garage.
Right.
Get it the fuck out.
But I do actually own a copy of that. And, like, I looked up all kinds of stuff like that back in the day. And that metadata is out there. That data is out there. Whenever you put out a public search, it's out there. And I can tell you right now, one of my biggest addictions that happened in the last year and a half was Google Analytics. And it was because of this podcast. Mm-hmm. And it was because of the Talking Sound podcast. Google Analytics tells you all kinds of shit. And it's absolutely freaky. If you pay more money, you get more analytics. But literally, like, I know for a fact why our episode on the FDA releasing Adderall for children as young as 6 was banned by Google. Ha ha! We have an episode that was banned by Google.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. And it was the episode where we were talking about the FDA releasing Adderall for children as young as 6. And it was not only due to the fact that we were talking about that topic, but it was also due to the fact that we used Dr. Feelgood by Motley Crue.
Huh.
Now, going through Google Analytics, I find out that a good 40% of our listening populace, shout out to y'all, is from Iraq.
Right. Shout out.
We have like a good 40% of our listeners that come from Iraq. So when you're talking Motley Crue as an intro, and you're talking FDA and releasing medications to children that shouldn't be released, yeah, that is some controlled media, and that's something that Google is going to absolutely stop in that country.
All right.
And not
so that answers my question why I don't like Google.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to have him answer your own question?
Yes.
Okay.
He has glasses.
That's all I need to fucking know.
He has glasses. He's smarter than I am.
He's got glasses.
Fucking God. He has glasses. He's smart.
But that's...
Jesus.
I can literally...
Where the fuck is this world?
And when we say, Chris...
As a podcaster, as a blogger, you can literally...
That has nothing to do with Google. You understand that. That has to do with Iraq and their federal policy. That has nothing to do with Google.
So upset. It was
I am upset.
It's very millennial.
I'm trying to make it upset. We're trying to make this for the listener.
The conclusion comes from the fact that I can look at Google Analytics and see where our listeners are coming from, not just country, but state and city.
And get this, just because it comes from Iraq doesn't mean it's not American soldiers listening in.
It could be anybody.
Yeah, it could be anybody.
But
Iraqis.
What I can also find out, the average education.
People from Iraq.
I can also find out the average.
You had to clarify that.
Yeah.
Here we go.
He looked at me.
I can also find out the average education of our listeners. So if most of them have a GED or if they're college educated, I can find out all kinds of shit to be able to actually focus our blog and our show to.
So mind control shit. If
60%, if 60% of our populace doesn't have a college degree, we may want to bring the jargon down a little bit.
You have me talk more.
And, it's the fact of being able to, through Google Analytics and through these algorithms and through these search algorithms and who they've listened to, what they are, what their profile is, and everything else, being able to find out this stuff, we can really sculpt our podcast or blog to our dedicated listeners, to the people that are, and it's a great tool, but at the same fact,
believe me, Nelson knows what you're talking about.
I have worked the conferences with these people, and they literally say this is a great tool, but at the same time, it is friggin' creepy, folks.
It is.
It is friggin' creepy.
And if it's available to us,
the fact that I can find out with a general search the average education of the people that are listening to my show. That's some far deep reaching data.
Not really. I mean, if they type in what they what they have done if they've uploaded a resume under that email address.
No.
It wasn't
not
that
even
amazing
resume.
since 1981. But for those of us who were around before 81, it's pretty amazing shit.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking phenomenal, and it's
Gen Xers are blown away by this shit.
Yeah, because we had a fucking Atari.
I gotta tell you,
we had ColecoVision.
I didn't have an Atari till I was like 10 or 11.
Right?
When we went to the arcade, there was a fucking pool table. There was foosball.
Yeah.
There was some shit.
Air
it was
hockey.
like a car game where this roll of paper literally rolled, and there was a car on a stick that went back and forth like this. There was ducks that were actually made out of metal with a wooden gun.
Yeah, I had one of those growing up.
Yeah,
that was what was in the fucking arcades.
Yep.
And and you know what? 99 times out of 100, there were go-karts.
Yeah.
Fuck your Galaga and everything else.
Yeah.
Go-kart.
Yeah.
Gonna smash you.
Yeah.
But so all this shit is really amazing.
Yeah. It's
it
phenomenal.
Really
Don't get me wrong.
Having come from the
show.
70s, I was born in the 60s, but having come from really grown up in the 70s, this shit is just fucking mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Like, we thought, being able to make a phone call from your watch.
Yeah. Dick Tracy.
Dude, no, they have the Dick Tracy watch now. You can buy it for $250.
Right.
And flying cars.
For a while.
But that was it. We didn't. This fucking cell phone thing with a computer,
dude.
What we wouldn't. There was no concept of it.
Well, and that's what we got into with the episode with Tom Metz.
with the
was
flip
fact
phone.
of the flip phone was straight up come up with from the
Star Trek shit.
Star Trek,
Yeah,
exactly.
for real.
No, like the inventors
I'm
of
not
it have
gonna
said
lie.
we were inspired by Star Trek
when it
to
came
make
out,
it look
I got
just
one
like
and
that.
I made the noise every time I opened it. I grew up on that stupid Shatner shit.
But I mean, literally right now in our phones, we have more processing power than
every computer that existed when I was born.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have just multitudes more power right in this one phone. And what existed.
There's more power in a modern day digital watch than what took us to the moon.
Well, I had the Radio Shack's Tandy's TRS-80 when it came out, and we were the first ones to have it. The shit. This is some Star Trek shit right here. 80K.
Yeah.
80K of memory. We backed up on cassette tape.
Yep.
There was no fucking big ass floppy drives. It was a cassette tape.
It was a cassette tape.
A little fucking old school cassette player.
Yeah.
And it took you 3 days of fucking coding and programming to make a pink fucking triangle spin around on the screen. That's all it did.
Why would you want a pink fucking triangle?
Because I could fucking make it happen.
I know, right?
You like the gay
You know
porn
what?
site?
If I spend another 2 days, I could make it green.
Yeah.
That's right.
But you liked the pink triangle, didn't you?
Yeah.
I did. Okay.
Stop it!
All you had to have to do is look at Google Analytics and see I like fucking pink triangles. Okay,
That's it.
we
I
get
like
it.
pink
It's that
triangles.
easy.
But if you use Google, then I would be able to find out about that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the thing is,
See,
the thing
my
is,
secret is safe.
he
That
doesn't.
was.
The thing is, he doesn't have to use Google. All he has to do is visit other websites and visit our website.
Use Google.
And
Yeah,
our Google Analytics from our website pick up his
It's
traffic.
residual.
It's
Little shit on my shoe
The web
drags
that
around everywhere I
happens
walk.
and the connections that happen are absolutely
Fucking
amazing.
interweb.
And that's why I'm saying it became an addiction for me. Recently, I'll admit.
Hey, you should try cocaine. It
Been there.
smells much better.
Been there.
It
It smells better.
I don't like cocaine. I just like the way it smells.
Yeah.
That's right. But with Talking Sound Podcast, I haven't done anything probably other than posting in a good 3-4 months. I haven't put out an episode, stuff like that. We've been on break. But I can still, through Google Analytics, go through and see the fact that we've had 30 visitors a day, minimum, over the last 3-4 months when I've done nothing. I can see where those visitors come from. I can see their last 3 Google searches. I can see what websites they tagged on my website through. So if somebody posted my shit on a website and they came through it, Like,
Google, I hate you.
It's pretty wild, and that's literally.
I don't want them to know everything I did. I thought it was just when I looked shit up through Google.
Yeah, no,
Fuck them.
It ties into your social media
They're
accounts.
selling my shit.
It ties into everything, and it's amazing the web that is created, and that is the wonderful world of AI. It is algorithm, but we're getting to the point where that algorithm actually takes on intelligence, where that algorithm starts assuming
A stands
things.
for algorithm, right?
Yeah.
It's just algorithm intelligence.
Yeah, algorithm
I just
intelligence.
solved y'all's whole argument. I just married the two right there.
That's it.
But
That's
there is
it.
a place that it doesn't exist, and I've thought of going off grid, like really far east, Alaska.
Yeah.
You know, just a cabin.
Yeah.
Some sled dogs, a fucking rifle, and a chainsaw. I'm good.
Totally.
Everybody
Go
can kiss
mountain
my
man.
ass.
Go mountain man with
I got
it.
no neighbors. You know what? Somebody stumbles across my shit, I kill them.
Hey.
Nobody's ever gonna fucking find out.
Why are you on my property?
I'm like fucking 500 miles out in the middle of fucking nowhere. And you know what? No Google search. Search for that motherfucker. Google's not
question-
going to help you. Your Google car cannot get across.
The real question living in Alaska is how long before those people-killing robots from Russia find you?
Yeah, but we bought that shit back in the like 1700s or whatever. They were safe.
So, yeah, I mean, these are just some of the questions that come up with AI. These are just some of the things that happen whenever we sit back and kind of extrapolate where things could go. I mean, of course, we all agree that artificial intelligence is hugely important to the progression of mankind.
Medical technology is really where I'd like to see it happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But then again, are the robots weighing the option of profit?
Yeah.
For
we
maintenance?
do have robots in medical.
I know, but even more
Okay.
so.
More
you know,
so
where it's artificial intelligence.
That's
I'm
what
not talking about like there's a guy with a joystick going into a heart.
No.
Right.
You know, with a tiny little.
No, it's more whether or not
Forceps,
with the
you know.
with the odds given algorithmically.
I'm talking about automated hospitals where
Right.
there's nobody working there. There's no doctor.
There is going to be a point in time.
There will be.
But
will
it's
be,
not
I'm
anywhere
sure.
near we are. What
No.
we can focus on, like we have been, is with automated vehicles and drones and internet. You know,
Yeah,
where we
but
can
that goes into a whole different realm, though, of what's going to happen when that machine gets to decide, because that person has an 8% chance.
Right.
That 8%
When it
chance
starts
doesn't
weighing-
meet up with the deviation.
When it starts weighing,
But
like
that
odds
person
and
could
That's
be
some serious algorithm
That
there.
person could be the one, that 8% out of 100 that actually makes it, and the machine decides that because it's only an 8% chance of survival, that we need to not take that chance.
That's
Is the
exactly
risk
what I'm
worth
trying
it?
to say, is that when you have a candidate A and candidate B, candidate A has a tumor within, the third valve of his heart, and then candidate B has a triple bypass surgery, to where a computer can go in and then see where the inflammation is on certain tumors, where the inflammation is on the third bypass. That's where the AI has to come in.
No.
We don't even know,
Totally
as
good
human
with that.
beings, going in and understanding that. So what we do know is
That's
how
why it's
cars
called
work.
medical practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
I get it.
So it's way down the road.
And we aren't necessarily saying that the AI couldn't
I know you're
recognize that and take care of that.
I know.
That's the goal. The question
Right.
is whether or not, with the surgery, Stone has an 8% chance of survival. So, is it economically feasible?
That's what I was saying.
Is it feasible?
It starts weighing options.
And should we take the 8% chance and tie up that?
Because humans are doing that now.
Tie up that surgery room for the next 12 hours for an 8% chance.
Well, that's why we do testing to understand if this AI machine to do a triple bypass surgery does have a realm of making this 8% chance of recovery.
Well,
actually
the question morally comes in whether or not the machine can decide if that 8% chance
you want a machine
is
to
worth
decide
doing it
for you.
Yeah.
Right. Down the road, when testing and significant research has been done on this machine, abso-fucking-lutely.
So, an open heart surgeon, Dr. Cooley.
Yeah.
He just kind of freaking opened the pathways for fucking open heart surgery at the University of Houston. Guy's been doing it 50 years.
Yep.
He's done tens of thousands of open heart surgeries. People die. On his table.
It happens.
He does like 12 a day. He has an opening team that goes in, opens them up. He's right behind them. He does the surgery. There's a closing team that comes in. So that his teams are constantly moving. He does tons of these. He's done so many, it's ridiculous. He is the foremost expert on open heart surgery. People still die.
Yeah.
Right.
So the question comes in, algorithmically, when you go into this automated hospital and your chances are 8%, hey, that doctor's willing to take an 8% chance because it's your life.
Right.
Sometimes.
Right.
Do we know for a fact he tried? Or do we know?
True, and
maybe
that's
he fucking didn't and charged him anyway.
That's a negligible, debatable point as well.
Any possibility should be a chance to take.
The point that we're bringing up is that 8% chance the doctor may be willing to take because the patient is willing to take it.
There's emotion involved.
The question is the automated system willing to take that 8% chance and willing to put that person in the lineup for Dr. Cooley?
Dr. Cooley might spend fucking 9 hours.
That's the question.
If he thinks you have no fucking chance.
Like, no one can really answer that because who knows?
But those are the moral quandaries that are in front of AI.
That's what I'm trying to say is at the point in time where we get to that point where an AI, are we putting up an 8% chance on this AI to actually recover this individual? We get to the research to where that 8% out-divides the human testing and out-divides someone who's been doing this for 50 years.
Like the Tesla car.
Yeah.
No, not really.
But I'm just saying,
not
there are
at
things.
all, actually.
Okay, so the Note 7.
Yep.
Not at all either. I'm talking about a surgeon. I'm talking about an 8% life risk.
So what you're saying is they put more into this machine than they did the Note 7.
That's just exactly what you wanted. That is exactly what you just said that you wanted. You wanted to see more into surgery.
No, I'm not arguing with you at all.
I know you're not. Absolutely.
I'm saying, so what you're saying is put more into this thing that you're putting people's lives.
Yeah.
You're putting people's lives in this machine.
In the hands.
Absolutely.
You better have 100 fucking years.
And
now,
that is exactly what we're doing because Tesla does have that, but there are obligations as a driver behind that wheel that you still have to focus on. Yeah. And there are things you have to do. Right. Just within 500 years from now, if we have an automated
And I hope this automated surgeon isn't just fucking left to do his fucking business.
And not just the automated surgeon, but
I got a dump button on this one, just in case.
Well, not just the automated surgeon, but the automated intake person that decides whether or not you're on the table.
Right.
That's my question.
Well,
because there's going to be this statistic that eventually algorithmically comes along of, hey, sorry, you lie within an 8% chance of survival, so we don't see you as a viable candidate.
Yeah, where's the moral?
We don't see you as a viable candidate. Whether or not your insurance would cover it or anything else.
Morals kill people, so
Well, yeah,
you have to take that into consideration too.
Well, and that's where we truly come in with the concept of artificial intelligence.
There's a lot of stories I've seen where people would have died or have died during birth or whatnot, or it's said by the doctor
my
that
son.
my son, and they still lived.
Born at 24 weeks. There's 40 weeks of gestation.
Yeah,
he's born at 24 weeks.
Yeah,
little Jack.
The odds of survival.
Right.
He was 1 fucking pound when they came into the room. Before he was born, they listed 150 fucking things that not only might happen, but probably going to happen. He's going to be fucking retarded. He's going to, his heart's going to be outside of his head.
Exactly.
Just fucking. At the end of the conversation, they asked, so if he comes out and he needs help, do you even want us to help him?
Yeah.
Like, just my fucking kid.
Are you shitting me right now?
Ask me that again.
Don't
see what
even
happens
ask.
to you. I'll bust you in the fucking lip.
Shouldn't even ask.
But due to technology,
exactly,
and a lot of fucking people putting a lot of effort in, he's stronger than fucking any kid his age, and he's a bad motherfucker.
Right.
That's right.
He really
right.
is.
That's it.
He's fucking
Despite the
against
odds.
odds.
Despite the odds.
odds. Not saying that a machine couldn't do it, but I tell you, there's a certain.
The question
point,
is, do you want the machine making
there's
the
no
decision?
question. There's no question. Human touch
Oh yeah.
can't be replaced by
Nope.
anything.
No.
Human touch is healing.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
Absolutely.
I can sit on a fucking massage chair.
Yep.
And it feels good. But I have some fucking 4'11" little fucking Asian chick with sleeved up with tattoos rub my back for a fucking hour. I just came.
Yeah.
It's magic. Ain't no machine gonna make that shit happen.
Right.
Thank you. Happy ending.
Unless it's a real doll.
But she ain't getting up and rubbing my back first. That's the problem. I got to do all the work.
But I mean, to me, the quandary and the question comes in. Eventually, we will get to the point of the AI intake person, and the intake person. If you've ever been to the ER, you know the intake person is the one that decides what your level is.
We have that though, because the person I was just at the ER with my wife because I kind of and I hurt her, but so she has some internal things going on, and sorry. But so the intake person is sitting there. So do you have this?
Yeah.
Yep.
This computer is telling them that they're not making
What their
any
prioritization
decisions.
is.
Yeah.
This computer is telling them exactly what to ask me.
Right.
They're asking me, and then they're typing it in.
Yeah.
It's fucking automated.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not talking to a speaker box on the wall.
No.
Right.
But I basically am. It's all been programmed in.
Yeah.
And those people are just saying it out loud because nobody would feel that comfortable talking to
They're
a
an
fucking
extension of a
Android.
computer.
Exactly.
Nobody would even feel that comfortable talking to a human-looking. They'd feel less comfortable talking to a human-looking
The prime example is
Android because you just took somebody's job. It's fucking weird. I'm talking to like you're a fucking person. It freaks me the fuck out.
Here's one thing, like prime example. My wife and I are pregnant, and we just found out today.
Well, you're pregnant too?
That
It's a boy.
Yes, that it's a boy.
Crazy name, right?
Dalbus. Dalbus James.
Yeah.
It's my grandfather's name. It's a great, strong Cajun name.
It's a great
A good family name. And, it's...
What the fuck are you doing to your kid?
I know, right?
I'm sorry.
I'm going to bring him up strong, son.
Boy, you better be able to whoop some
DJ
ass.
is going to be his
Hey,
name.
that's what's up.
Yeah. So, DJ...
What does it stand for? DJ.
Dalbus J.
It stands for
J.
DJ.
That's it.
Don't ask.
So, she was very concerned because of her age at 38. They wanted to do genetic panels right away.
Yeah, of course.
So she was like, the doctor contacted me and said that they would like to, talk to us over the phone and tell us the results of the genetic panels. And I was like, number one, that's a great thing. And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, if they're going to contact you over the phone, there is nothing wrong.
Well, they do say no news is good news.
Yeah. But
So if they don't call
but
you,
literally,
and I'm not.
If they tell
I'm
you,
sorry.
if they at that point, it would literally be,
Yeah, we have
hey,
bad news.
yeah. Well, no, it would be. We need you to come
They
in.
probably want to
we
discuss options and like here's
it would.
risks
It would
and
literally
here's what
be.
we're gonna do.
It would literally be a come into the office. We need a consultation. We need to talk to you.
Right.
They wouldn't be covering those things on a phone call.
Right.
To me, that's the huge personal touch. That's where it comes in. That's where the doctor-patient relationship comes in.
I get what you're saying. I get what he's saying, and
Yeah.
I totally believe that. Like I said, without the human interaction, out of any industry, any of it, like medical is the biggest one that always needs to require humans.
Yeah.
Because you just have to have sometimes you just have to have a fucking hand
human
on
touch,
your arm
man.
and like somebody, when still I'm 46, here's my weakness, I get the flu, I want my mom to fucking put a cold rag on my head, brush my hair back and tell me, baby, it's gonna be
It's gonna be all right.
That right there is enough to make you just feel it. That and a fat fucking doobie.
Yeah, I'm with
and you
you.
feel
I'm
better
all out
during the flu. You know, your mom and some weed.
That's it.
You're much better. A robot.
Well, and
she better be doing that happy ending.
One of my favorite movies over the last year that my wife and I watched on Netflix is, and I want to say it's called Frank and I. But it's literally, and one of the concepts they're talking about robotics right now is use in senior care, being able to keep seniors company, stuff like that. And this robot, it's kind of a modern day concept of AI, the movie AI. This family buys a help robot for their elderly father, and the robot ends up doing all kinds of stuff because of Rossum's rule of robotics. You know, the fact that it wants to please the person. It starts doing all kinds of crazy shit. Like, they go out and start doing nefarious stuff together, and, you know, like, the robot is utterly covering for him. It's this wild scenario that happens.
It's my daughter. She's listening.
Nice.
Hello, Hannah.
Hey, Hannah. How you doing?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much from Fort Myers, Florida.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We
my
appreciate
angel.
you always.
Sorry.
That's all right. That's what it's all about. And, you know, this whole movie covers the concept of this AI that the family has purchased to take care of the father, but the father ends up perverting the AI, and the AI ends up like, you know,
you look at me when you said that.
Damn. The AI ends up like doing all this stuff, like helping him commit crimes and like steal from stores and stuff like that, because he's trying to please the person. And
well, he was also a thief before his senile state.
Yeah, absolutely. But it comes to the fact of this robot is learning actions from people, and, you know, that is like we were saying earlier, robots are basically babies, and we have to teach them.
Yeah. What's the movie?
This is what he learned.
South African Chappie.
Chappie. Straight up.
Great fucking movie.
Great movie.
Loved Chappie.
Great movie.
The rappers that took him ridiculous, but people loved it.
I love it.
She freaks me this.
Yeah,
oh my god, she's
freaky looking chick. I don't get the whole no eyebrows.
My friends at work dig her a whole lot. They're turned on.
Yeah, like that was the whole whole thing. That whole infant fucking mentality, and he was taught to be who he became, and you know, he had to learn. Oh, what you're doing is wrong, but I'm still gonna talk the way you know, like So he had a basis of here's how you need to be, and then develop your own opinion on what's right and wrong.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. That's the point that we're getting to with AI right now.
Sure.
Is we've gotten the algorithms down, like we were saying earlier, where they can absolutely draw, much like Watson did, to be able to beat the human who had all this knowledge in his head. Watson was able to randomly draw this information from numerous sources
mostly from Sherlock,
faster than a human brain could, and respond faster than a human brain could to be able to answer the questions. You know, as we get to this point, are we teaching them morality? Are we trying to put these bases into them? Are we trying to put the concept of Chappie, you know, where it's, you know, it's utterly like Chappie was totally a baby. He fucking took on the aspect of everything that was around him. I feel like you need
the normal everyday person for that portion, though.
You do.
Because generally, a scientist, I don't know, in every movie we've seen, the scientist is the cold, analytical, no emotions involved, you know. This is how to be, and they're socially fucking retarded to begin with. They're scientists.
Yes, we are.
You know, they're not real good with people.
Yeah.
So those are unfortunately the people that are teaching
that are
AI
teaching
how
these
to act,
robots.
well, act like me, and I can't be around people.
Oh my God, I hadn't even thought
Or
about
I'm
that.
going to put on a fucking long black coat and take some shotguns into my high school in Columbine.
Well, and that
you're
takes it
not
to the
really
extreme.
setting a good. You need social people. So I just think they need to add in that portion. Have some fucking consultants who are fucking regular ass people.
Yeah,
like me.
Yeah, absolutely. You should totally be a consultant
watch
for AI.
porn and
Well, and there was the whole instance of the Microsoft AI that they created, Tay. That actively started aggregating. It was basically an intelligence that grew from social media.
Yeah, you were able to tweet with it.
Yeah, you were able to tweet with it, and it actively responded back to your tweets. And what they found was, as people started to feed it these really horrible tweets, these very
hecklers.
Well, very much troll tweets where it was, talking about white supremacy, things like that.
It started to become very racist tweets, offensive.
It actually started absorbing this as being the social conscience because it was getting more of these than the others.
I think it said Ted Cruz was the Jewish Hitler.
Yeah.
And Trump was something of
Ted
a nursing
Cruz.
home.
Yeah, I mean, it started.
Striper.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz had a song for Striper.
But literally, Tay started coming up with its own posts.
It started to actually
coming up with its own responses.
It even said a comment, something pertaining to that Hitler was right or something like that.
Yeah, and
it didn't start out.
So it's
hateful.
just whoever gave it the most input.
Yeah,
something
that's
I guess.
what it learned
exactly.
Yeah.
But it was a true experiment in AI in how this thing would respond with the input given to it. Much
so
like
that just means you need morally right.
Exactly.
Socially active, morally right.
Much
people to give massive input.
Much like a person.
Right.
Much like a person. And that's the point that you brought up.
You train a pit bull to kill, and it's going to kill.
It's going to kill.
Otherwise, it's a sweet
exactly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a sweet ass animal, and
and it goes with any species.
No, and it's a product of sociology and psychology. We are a product of our environment.
Nurture versus
nature versus nurture, exactly.
Which would come into play.
Yeah,
definitely. And not so much the nature part because there's not a whole lot of nature to robots.
But it is nature within the programming. Whenever you think about that concept, to go back to what Nelson was saying, I don't see where it would ever go beyond what we allow. The question is that RoboCop loophole of what we allow and what the logic of that system allows to circumvent.
People use that in court every day.
All the time.
The time. I mean, Trump just became our president.
Yep.
Just paid, president-elect.
Yeah.
After paying a $25 million fraud settlement.
Payout.
A lot of people say, well, you wouldn't pay out. You wouldn't pay out, unless you were a fraud, blah, blah, blah. Well, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. And, to me, it does come down to the fact of our computers are babies. Our artificial intelligence are babies. And like you said, we literally have to imbue them. And if you read any science fiction, if you read any of this stuff, Roger Zelazny, Isaac Asimov, Philip Dick, every one of them put forth this concept of we have to imbue morality. We have to imbue a moral view.
But then it's a decision of whose morality.
Exactly.
Is it a extremist Islamic
I actually heard this
morality?
crazy.
Is it a Christian morality? Is it a Taoist morality?
Or is it an algorithmic morality that draws from all of them? Would be my presumption. is that it would be something that draws from the truths of all of them.
Check this out. I heard this crazy thing from this well-known radio talk that I like to listen to, and they were saying basically just out there.
Just say it. Clive Lewis.
All right. He hit it right on the dot. But anyway. Okay, say with the Trump winning and all and stuff like that, kind of like a what if, perhaps. That. The thing is with the AI and all this and the Google and all that it was basically like Trump was the most searched. Everybody went there. It was the collective consciousness that kind of decided like Trump is the one that people wanted. He was the most looked at.
There was actually an AI that predicted Trump's win.
Right,
so
like
did
that.
The Simpsons.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah. Exactly.
It was craziness.
Well, and, despite all those things, we have to look at the fact of what AI is being used for, what the future of AI is, what the long-reaching scope of AI is.
I think it should just be limited.
Yeah?
I think that's the main thing, is limit its capabilities, limit its... just its scope, period. What do we use it for? I'm sorry, but you still need to be able to use a fucking drill.
Yeah.
You still need to be able to use a screwdriver.
Yeah.
And drive a fucking car if you have to. Ride a fucking bicycle. You have to be able to do things.
That's it.
And don't rely on it so much. There are major things. If it can save a life, great.
Beautiful.
Does it need to make world decisions? Fuck no.
Yeah.
Does it need, to take care of aftercare of patients? No. That's something that human touch is needed.
Yeah.
Aftercare.
Yeah.
And major surgery where it's microscopic and it's really fine.
Yeah.
Have somebody standing there.
Yeah.
Who really knows what
how would you feel upon like artificial intelligence advising like leaders like colonels and sergeants or whatever to make military decisions?
They already do that.
Advisors.
That is through using AI to gather statistics.
Right.
Analytics.
Through analytics and algorithms.
So it's already being done.
Yeah, I mean, they get that stuff.
I don't want them, because that's when you get into the point where it's like, well, what are the odds that's the right guy?
Right.
Well, man,
but
if
even
there's
if
1%
you didn't have
chance
analytics,
that it's not him.
You still have research and backing from
you do.
it.
You
You
do.
don't have to have AI to do that. We've been doing that for years.
Yeah, we've been doing hard.
Did that.
But I think what he's talking about is using it solely. Instead of like
solely.
we did all the
Using that as
research
the
that you're
sole
talking
source.
about.
Yeah, the sole source.
And
I totally agree with you. Don't rely on it solely.
Anyways.
Right.
And I don't think you should rely on it to.
Right,
I'm sorry, odds.
But no
odds.
one even does that to this day. What AI we have, from drones to cars, no one solely relies on it. Like when you buy a Tesla, when you have the $150,000 to buy that car, you're not a fucking idiot to just get in there and press auto.
No, people are.
No,
people are though.
People are.
No. I'm just saying.
They see auto on there and they fucking hit the
by
button.
the minimum 5 articles I've seen in the last 3 months.
I'm just saying, people aren't solely relying on these things.
They are though.
There's more so than you think.
At heart, people are fucking lazy.
No, they're not.
They're inherently lazy.
No,
they're inherently.
It's kind of like the people of Atlantis.
They're not inherently
especially people
lazy.
after 81.
No. False.
To me,
absolutely.
To me, it is the fact of, we do become too dependent on the crutch. We do become too dependent on that. Hey, we did a lot of fucking things with the slide rule before we ever had a computer. We got to the moon with the slide rule.
You know what we did before this? I read this thing that said there's no reason to not know anything these days. You're 26 seconds away from knowing anything you want to know.
Yep.
Damn.
And not just when I was a child, but 20 years ago. If you wanted to know something, you asked the people around you. If they didn't know, if you really felt like that wasn't good enough, that you really had to know, you went and spent the next fucking however many hours it took to find the fucking information at the library.
Yeah.
And then you hoped
that
wrote the book
yeah.
also didn't write some crazy book.
Yeah.
You know, like...
Well,
hold on a second. What's your point?
My point is...
Because what I'm trying to say is if you understand how to research and you understand to actually look at different options...
As long as the books are available. As long as the books are available. Are you talking about on here? You don't know which one on the phone.
Yes, you absolutely do. If you understand how to research and understand who wrote what and actually look at what they have done, where they've gone to college, what they've actually done research for, what their thesis was in their final year of their master's degree.
I don't disagree. But the problem is, do you know that website didn't just write a bunch of bullshit?
That's why you research. I'm not telling you to listen.
So now I have to research the website.
You should always research. That's what you just said.
Hold on. But what I'm saying is, I could spend the next 30 fucking days...
No, less than
looking through, because the website that told me this website was valid could be bullshit. So then I have to research that website.
Absolutely. That's what research and development is.
I know.
It's problem and solve. Problem and solve.
Okay.
I know how it works.
And move forward.
The problem with this...
There is no problem with it.
Okay.
It's idiots with that pull up the first fucking website and believe everything that they fucking read.
Agree with
That's
you.
exactly what he's saying.
My problem is you don't know where the bullshit ends with this.
But you have to research. You will find where the truth comes from.
You might.
You not might. You fucking will.
Yeah?
You fucking will.
Guaranteed.
Right. How is... Dude, you just fucking said back
do you
before
think
you
that
had these things, you went to the library until you found the right thing, right?
Yeah, that's because it took you forever going through card catalogs.
It's the same fucking thing, but quicker.
Totally, absolutely fucking different.
My fucking God. No, it's not.
Though.
No, it's not.
If you lived back then, you might have some basis of an argument, but you absolutely don't, because you didn't live then. And I'm betting you didn't spend a lot of time in libraries fucking doing research compared to
microfiche
here.
The microfiche.
The
good microfiche.
That was worse than the fucking card catalog.
But the quandary that we have now, is the fact that, yes, like we said at the beginning of the show, Facebook has had a rash over the last year of fake news. Fake news sites are generated all the time, and people buy it up. Just like you said, Nelson, and we've said it numerous times on this show, people are headline chasers. And it's hard, like Steven posted one.
I passed one recently.
Steven posted one on
bullshit.
And I had to take it off because
I went to it and I was like, "Hey, dude, this is not an article."
Yeah.
You know, and
you can even tell 99% of them. You can look at the fucking .com that it's from. You're like, really?
Right.
You can.
Blah blah blah.
But there are some of them
really has some fucking credible fucking news.
There are some of them though, and I forget which one it was. Let me actually check the source here, because it was about the university talking about killer robots. That was from dailymail.co.uk. And a lot of people dismiss the .co's, but it is literally a secondary outlet for dailymail.com, which is a verified website. It's a verified news site. It exists.
He says it's not.
You can
I didn't say anything.
Daily Mail is an actual website, and the article that was written here that's posted on dailymail.co.uk is the exact same article that's posted on dailymail.com. Which is a viable news source, which is a quoted news source, which is a news source that's used on regular media. And they were the ones that put, is it already too late to ban killer robots? Researchers say autonomous weapons have and will become possible.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
So, and
inevitable.
And granted, that's a headline article. That's a catchy headline,
right? Of course,
it goes into the same things that we were saying. That said that we are far years away from this.
No, but we're
far years away.
When you say killer robot, do you mean a robot that can kill?
Yes.
Or do you mean like a robot that's
making its own
autonomous
decision.
and like runs around fucking killing people?
A robot that will do its own job and go out and
Make its own decision.
Make decisions on who
Make
must
decision
die and
on
who
its
must
own.
not.
Yeah.
make decisions on its
Who
own.
will and who won't
That's
die.
what the article's about. Much like the killer robot from Russia that can spot people from 4 miles away using whatever technology
And then make
that's
the
available.
decision whether they die or not.
Makes a decision, hey, quite possibly via algorithmic search of what they've put on social media and everything else as to whether or not they're a threat. And that's an
I'm gonna
algorithmic
have
search.
to watch what I
That's crazy shit.
fucking post.
That is some crazy shit.
And even going into what's going on right now with the internet being handed over to the UN and those issues. And
What?
the internet has officially been handed over to the UN.
Okay, so how do you hand over something as massive as the internet? Nobody owns it. Nobody controls it. Are you talking about just like
Maybe Al Gore, perhaps.
Controls.
I would think.
You're talking about well, you can't control the internet, but
No.
You can.
Regulate.
You can.
You can.
I'm here to tell you, as a website
Well,
owner, you're
okay.
internationally
And as an
registered and you can be
electrical
cut
engineer
off.
from the telecom industry. I can tell you that in each of those countries, in each of the countries across the planet that have central offices and have
Sure.
routers and everything else, each one can
Ban you.
ban you.
Yep.
But the UN, it's far-reaching.
It is.
I'm not saying it's not impossible. I'm saying, wow, what a fucking task. You just expanded the government by 20-fold.
Yeah.
Just trying to
Yeah.
control. I mean, so you've got these groups in that are trying to control kiddie porn on the internet.
Yeah.
Right.
They can't.
No.
They can't. They're monitoring. They catch some people. But
There
they
was
can't.
just
or
there was just
terrorism
an
shit.
there was
Like,
just
They're
a-
hiding it now on the dark web.
they can't.
the only
they're just-
no, literally the only way it can happen is like there was an article recently where the FBI ran like 100 different kiddie porn sites. Mm-hmm. Like they used the pictures.
Really, like legit.
Oh, I know. They
They used the pictures to entrap people.
To
But
entrap.
but the problem is, you also just ran a kiddie porn site.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know.
You just broke the law by
and
doing
you never
it.
saw a cop speeding without his license.
right. Yeah, exactly.
So once again, we come into that moral control. We come into that. Where does the morality come in? And when it comes to robots and autonomous robots and robots that are making decisions for themselves, we have to wonder what the morality control is, where the morality comes in. If it comes in, if it is even a specter in
the
the
robots
distance.
don't have morality and would be a long time before they get it. That would have to come from us programming. You know?
Yeah, it would have to be programmed by us.
and it would have to be understood. I think that the part of the human mind and the part of the human heart that the robot will never get is, you can be taught not to hit your sister because she took your toy.
Yeah.
But you have felt pain. You have been hit. So you can understand why that's a bad idea. Like, okay, I get it. You bit somebody when you were a kid. Your mom turned around and like bit you to show you how it felt. You can't do that with a robot. So they can never feel that. They can't. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
the
they
equation
can't
there
ever
is
they
different.
can't ever feel the human condition and fully understand why they're being taught what they're being taught.
Yeah. Well,
you know what? That reminds me of a story. I'm sorry to interrupt, but when I was in physical science in high school, my physical science teacher, she said her young, I don't know if he was a couple years old or whatnot, but took his hand and said, "This is hot," and touched it to the stove.
Sure.
And I don't know, some people might have thought that was cruel or not, but she was teaching him this is hot.
That goes.
A machine won't understand.
Yeah,
that.
Exactly.
What is hot?
Yeah, right. What is hot?
What's a feeling you want to feel? Well, what's a feeling?
Yeah. What's a feeling?
What is feeling something?
The real difference comes in what is the temperature differential between, because my wife grabs some shit from the oven and it's hot as fuck to her. To me, as someone who's worked in a kitchen, half the time I can reach in there with my bare hand and grab the shit and pull it out.
Me too.
Well, either way, but the machine has nothing to
exactly, and
to register.
That's what I'm saying.
They have no registration of pain.
Zero.
Well, the question is, whose register of pain is it scaled on?
That so you're talking about a machine a killer robot that can make decisions based on odds and everything else, but they also have never experienced loss.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They've never lost a loved one. They can't take into consideration the emotion of humans where,
Yeah, a robot cannot become a
really want it? Okay, so it's a 97% chance this is the guy.
Right.
But what if it's not?
Well,
his family's going to be all fucked up over this.
And here comes the moral quandary.
Right.
Could the robot become a conscientious objector?
Wouldn't that be something?
That in there lies the quandary, because a human in that situation with a gun on somebody could, and there are numerous stories throughout history, throughout wars, where people from opposite sides drew guns on each other and decided, you know what, we don't need to do this.
Yeah,
this doesn't need to happen.
And
right
I get what you're saying, I think so. You just touched on a point that I think all these movies where, Terminator and whatever, like, oh well, y'all are just a disease on the planet, and I can't. Well, why not go? Of course, being humans and being evil like we are, we automatically think they're going to kill us off because we're shit.
Well, and that's where Terminator 2 came in, because, he was
we're
like...
not all shit.
Yeah,
maybe they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Well, they went up... He was like, hey, wait a minute. You can't just kill people. Why not? Well, because that's not what we do.
Yeah,
why not?
Right.
Yeah,
told him. And then, okay... So the next thing that happens is they go to the friggin' the mental hospital. They go to the mental hospital, and the guard comes out and he shoots him in the knees.
Yeah.
And he goes, he'll live. I didn't kill him.
Better than dying.
But I stopped
I'd rather a robot shoot me in the leg than take my life.
I stopped the option.
Right about now, that's more so than what cops are doing now.
Was the decision of the robot was, well, if I shoot him in the knees, he's incapacitated.
You may be completely
and he can't
right.
use his weapon.
Robot, the AI might decide, like, what's the point in the senseless killing of young black men just because of their skin color. Yeah. I don't get it. I'm not white.
Yeah. Well,
I have no color. Why are you picking on this guy? Fucking arrest him.
Well, and that's just it. It would solely fall under Rossum's rule of universal rule of robotics, where I cannot bring harm to a human, and I cannot, for self-preservation, bring harm to a human.
That's
rule number one and number two.
It's like the automata.
Why do you need to?
That's just it. They are built to serve us.
Right.
Was kind of a bad motherfucker.
Right.
But he wasn't a robot. He wasn't a robot. He was a cyborg, and that's a difference.
Okay. But
if we
can't,
if
you saw the second one, there was so little human.
If we can't control what we create, then what? We can't control what we create.
Exactly.
Why do you feel you have to control things?
Yeah, man. What's that all about?
Why do you have control issues? Why can't you be controlled? Because you're white.
I'm trying to figure this out. I think there was too much beer I drank to answer that.
And on a lighter note, it really does come down to the fact of
good one.
Where are we now? Where will we go? And yes, it does come down to the fact of, like Nelson said, right now we are absolutely at the point of algorithmic fact. We are at the point of robots are thinking algorithmically, though they're programmed to problem solve within that algorithm. And they're programmed much like a mouse, where it finds a wall, it knows that wall's there.
Right. It's being taught.
It's going to move around the obstacle, and it's going to think for itself on that end.
Right.
But at the same time, where do we come from with the fact of that to the fact of artificial intelligence? Where do we come to the point of really bringing about a true intellectual being, and something that you've brought about, Stephen, and something that you've brought about in conversations on Dudes and Beer Facebook page is, at what point do we start ascribing rights to robots?
Exactly.
At what point do we start ascribing the fact that robots are sentient, that robots are thinking for themselves, and robots in and of themselves have rights just like people? And that's the ultimate point. Right. That's the point that I see us getting to within the next 15 to 20 years.
It's like when people were watching Star Trek back in when Star Trek was on TV regularly, like fresh or whatnot. It's like now it's real, and all this thing, you know, people might say, "Oh, this isn't real. This isn't going to." It is happening, and if it isn't happening, it's going to happen. And so, at what point are we going to do these things? It's something that we need to think about as a society.
Well, exactly, and it's something that, you know, we have to existentially think about. We really do have to think outside of the box on this situation. Right. We have to start thinking about, number one, predictive programming. Trying to stop, so like what Stone was saying earlier, trying to rein in some of that quote-unquote free thinking of a machine that may bring them about to the point of that. But we do have to think about, like what you said in numerous posts, Stephen, the fact of rights for robots eventually.
Rights for robots. At what point would they become so aware that, you know, like the one from Hansen, whatever that I was saying earlier, that it had aspirations to have a family and be equal as humans. Do they need rights like humans at some point?
Well, and
will we ever get to that point?
Well, and that's the real question: is will we get to that point? Will we ever find the point at which humanity has started actually finding its path in the future, to the point where we've actually started paving the way for these rights? Because right now we're working on rights all across the country, much less rights
across the world.
We need to work on our own society, I think, before we can bring in the next,
and
I believe.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, that ends it for episode 76.
To this episode of the Dudes and Beer Podcast. To listen to our live audio streams, tune in at dudesandbeer.com or Spreaker.com/dudesandbeer. You can find our episodes on SoundCloud.com as well as the Google Play and iTunes market. You can also find us on YouTube, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast service. Dudes and Beer is a proud member of the Revolution Digital Group family of podcasts. Thanks for listening, everybody, and until next time, drink responsibly.